This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Go Hayes hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Did we just play a highlight saying, "Here comes the judge"? Man, you want to talk about getting paid. If you're starting to believe the reports, and I can tell you I'm getting excited because it's road trip time for A's Cast. It's been a while since we've been on the road. And obviously, a lot has happened in our lives, in our world. Whether we talk about COVID, we talk about the lockout of last year, baseball has not been the same since 2019. That's just a reality. And whether you watch this show or you're watching MLB Network or you listen to Sirius XM, Channel 89, the MLB radio, these are the only places. Excuse me. I'm going to need a cough button today, by the way, as I'm getting over this cold.
Okay. Well, I'm right here now, so it's easy. Easy for that to happen.
You might just point to you and do it?
Yeah. When you point, that means I mute.
I actually had a conversation with our boss today, the great DA. And I said, it's actually, and this is so odd to say, it's nice to have a cold and not have COVID.
Yeah, I feel like everyone I've talked to, a lot of my friends, we've all had like the same like cold thing that's been going around like the last like week and a half.
But it's a cold.
Yeah.
I don't have COVID. I have a cold. Cough, sneezing a little bit, blowing my nose. It's not cold. So it's nice, but it's like I'm not like, I've got to be locked in my bedroom for 10 days and can't see my children and can't see my wife. They might say that's a good thing. I might say that's a good thing. But you don't have that. It's nice. Just I have a cold and I can go function in the world and be okay. But back to the winter meetings, we're back in business. I'm so excited to go down to San Diego, where I grew up, see family and friends, but more importantly, to be at the winter meetings, to see everybody, all the people we bring on A's Cast, to get to see them up close and personal for the first time since 2019, unless they've come to the Coliseum. Everybody is going to be there. Every GM, every president, VP, whatever of baseball operations going to be there.
Chief baseball officers.
All the different agents, all the media bigwigs, broadcasters, writers, podcasters, you name it. Everybody is in one spot. And we all get together, and it's about the game of baseball. And it's going to be fun to get back. I'm super juiced. Like our guy, Chris Mad Dog Russo, the Radio Hall of Famer, high heat. He's already down there. They got MLB Network people are already in San Diego ready to rock. This thing doesn't start till Sunday. We get there Monday morning on the air, 1 o'clock. But I'm excited to be back. I really am. It's going to be a lot of fun. Roaming the halls. And you know what, folks? Everybody at these things loves the idea of A's Cast. They love coming on. We've got a whole big banner behind us now. We've got a whole set that we're going to have next to the Yes Network set. The Yankees, which, this Judge stuff, it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot. There's a lot of rumors going on. There's a lot of stuff that's being said, like this one. Yankees right now offering 8 years, $300 million. they'd have to add a extra year and $24 million to match the Garrett Cole contract. How old was Garrett Cole in 2019 when we were there and he signed?
I think he was under 30, or he might have just turned 30 because he's 32 now. So he
29.
I would say 29. I'm going to pull up the baseball reference.
And Judge is what, 30?
30, going to be 31.
Okay, so he's younger. So, as one executive said, take this for what it's worth, I'd rather be a Yankee than a Giant. No offense, Giant fans reading this report.
Cole is 28, actually.
Giants have to do 10 years in this person's opinion. The Giants would have to do 10 years, $375 million to get Judge to pass on the Yankees. 10 years, $375 million, which would be the largest free agent contract of all time, would be second when you look at contracts guaranteed to a player. Only Mike Trout and that 435 or whatever the hell it is. Trout's getting paid. I don't know what it costs to live in not Millbrae.
Millville, New Jersey.
Millville, New Jersey. But I think $435 million can buy you a nice crib in like Newport, Laguna, Dana Point, wherever he wants to live in Orange County on the water. And then in Millville, Steel Mill, wherever the hell it's called, in New Jersey, I think he's going to be okay.
Hell, he can move to Philadelphia because he's a big Philadelphia sports fan. And just
he's loyal Jersey guy.
God bless him.
And there is something about that Jersey Philly border. I mean, I've been to both, but there is something about all those people in Jersey who grow up right on the doorstep of Philadelphia and the great state of Pennsylvania, where you're from, that they're all Eagles fans. They're all Phillies fans. They're more to where when you go to Eastern New Jersey, they're all New York. And, of course, the Giants and the Jets play there in New Jersey. But on the eastern side of New Jersey, all Yankees, all Mets, Giants, Jets, whatever, except Devils. They'll take their own hockey team. But on the western side of Jersey, they all gravitate towards Philly. Is that correct?
Yes.
My East Coast knowledge.
From what I've gathered, my entire 23 years of my life living there.
Well, our buddy Kevin Franzen, the San Jose State great, now broadcaster for the Washington Nationals. So he lives in Philly now. Well, he lives in New Jersey. He lives on that border because he was working for the Phillies, and has told me like everybody there is Philly fans. That was before they went to the World Series. Like they've been Phillies. They're all in on everything Philly. So they're Sixer fans, Flyer fans, whatever. But anyway, more importantly, Judge is anybody. I mean, you have to get to a point, in my opinion, as a Giants fan, that you'd have to say, for us to outbid the Yankees would be stupid. It would just not be a smart baseball move. Money's money. It's not your money, not my money. I don't care what he gets paid. And if you're a Giants fan, you want star, you want great player, the replacement for Bonds. I get it. But at some point, you do have a limit to how much you're going to spend. And you just think of it as like a business chart, a pie, right? The pie graphs that you see whenever you're in business meetings, seminars. How much of your pie do you want going to one player? And especially you're talking about paying him 38, 39, 40, 41. Go look at the Tigers. We went over that last show. Disaster. As Miguel Cabrera, during our show on Monday, let us all know that, you know what, I think one more year and that's it. When this should be his last year, he should retire the way Albert Pujols did. But he goes, no, I think it's time to call it a career after the end of next year so I can collect that extra $32 million. That's what you're going to be. I can't tell you how Judge exactly is going to age. Big guys, super big guys don't age well. Super big guys, not off performance-enhancing drugs, age well. Judge is clean. So that means as he gets older, legs won't be as good. The eyesight starts to go. All the stuff that happens to a player as he goes into his late 30s. And if you're paying him this kind of money, it's just dumb. It's dumb. It will sound great now. It will feel great now. But you're not going to have the love for him that the Yankees will. Like the Yankees now, the Yankees re-sign him, and he goes on to have X amount of good years. At the end of this, they won't care because he's going to be in Monument Park. He's going to be a Yankee legend. He's their guy. You don't care. That's the thing about free agency. You don't care when your guy ages because you love him. He's your guy. But when you're the hired gun, which free agents are, and you become the older, expensive guy, there was no love for Albert Pujols. Look at the love Albert Pujols had in St. Louis. They didn't have that love in Anaheim. They hated him. We saw it firsthand as A's. They're booing him. There was no love. Anaheim. Once again, the rally monkey. Where is the rally monkey? The rally monkey was booing him. When the rally monkey's booing you, boo, you suck, old man. You're not worth the money. This is Orange County, the softest market. I would probably, well, I don't know. We went softest, weakest, like when it comes to hardcore fan markets, Anaheim's up there. Anaheim's up there. Miami's up there.
I'm trying to think of what other ones we can throw in
I mean,
there.
years ago you would have said San Diego, but now they're packing in $3 million a year and they're going nuts. So you can't say San Diego. But Anaheim's there. Even though they bring a lot of people in, but I mean, it's stuffed animals and Disney and that whole thing. I think I get, well, Tampa.
Oh, I was going to say, are we basing off of attendance? So, yeah, Tampa.
No, not 10 size, because obviously our fans are all in.
Yeah, I don't know how
we're
Tampa...
banging drums. We got signs. We're like a college football game, even though we don't have a ton of people. Our fan base, the A's fan base, God love you, they're all in.
Yeah, I don't know how much Tampa really. Besides
Tampa, people are in shorts, flip flops, and they're like, "Hey, I'm having a cocktail." I've been to Tampa. I can tell you, it's not rowdy.
They have the cowbells though. That's all I've ever.
Not rowdy.
Trying to think what other team would be a softer market. I mean, obviously not New York, not Pennsylvania, not Atlanta. Atlanta, no. I don't know.
They got it going again at Kansas City when they're not good. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's just soft. When the Angel fans are booing your ass every day, then you know something's wrong. So that's what I'm saying. If I'm any team, you know what I say? Let the Yankees pay him. Let him be in a Yankee, and I don't even want in this. I wouldn't even want in this conversation. I don't know why you would. That's why it was dumb. I said it all along. It was dumb for Farhan and his group to even get it out that they were all in on Judge. It's dumb. Because now if you don't get him, now what? Now your fan base can say, we're spending all this money and you're cheap. Because that's the thing. The Giants have this perception right now in our market that they're cheap. And they're trying to shed that. Well, going out and paying Judge 10 years, $375 million. Yeah, you'll be showing you're not cheap, but you know what you'll also be doing? You'll be showing you're dumb. And that's one thing Farhan's not. So 10 years, 375, I'd say no. Yankees, pay him. He's a Yankee, and let it go.
Yeah, the original thing, Jeff Passan had it this morning. It was 8 years, $300 million, and they would be willing to go up, if there was some better offer. So you do the quick math, that's $37.5 million for the AAV, which is the same amount as the 10 years, $375 million. So Judge is going to get that money. He's going to be the highest paid position player, I think, by AAV, because obviously Cole's going to be ahead of him. Or no, who's going to be ahead of him? Scherzer, yeah, and then probably Verlander when Verlander signs a new deal. Those are the only two guys.
It's a dumb deal, but if he's your guy, it's not a dumb deal. There's a difference between you draft him, you bring him up, he's your player, And every kid grows up with an Aaron Judge jersey and wears them to bed at night, and they got Judge blankets and jerseys and hats. He's your guy. Makes sense. You keep your guy. Has there ever been a player that signed a contract extension that everybody hated on when he signed it with his own team? It's always the free agents who sign somewhere, they don't live up to the deal, and then everybody hates them. Or, there's dislike, there's never the love. Versus a guy who's your guy. When you sign Chipper Jones to a long-term deal, Chipper's going to fade in the end, but you don't care because he's your guy. You grew up, he's your favorite player. You don't ever want him to be traded. You want him to be there forever. And he ages, he retires, you retire his jersey. It's the one thing the A's fans want, right? You want your guy. You want to have a guy that's your guy forever. But you don't want to do it at 10 years, $375 million, because that is a bad deal. There's wild stuff going on right now. I mean, they're trying to spin right now DeGrom to the Rays.
That's a good one.
I mean, if you ever thought okay, wait a minute, I'll buy a lot of crap, and I believe everything I read on the internet and Twitter. You know what? It's official. I do not believe everything I do not believe everything I read on the internet, and I do not believe everything I read on Twitter now, because I do not believe there's any chance in that Jacob DeGrom will be a Tampa Bay Ray. There's no way when Kevin Cash and the Rays come to Oakland, and I have all the respect, and I love watching them work out. I've said this before. No one works harder than the Rays. Every single day, the infield that they take, before they ever they do more before they take BP than any other team. There's a reason why they win. There's a reason why they're fundamentally sound. There's a reason why they can play in the American League East and compete day in and day out. They never beat themselves. You can talk about all the bullpenning. You can talk about, but they fundamentally work harder than anybody. We get to see it being on the field. No way I'm writing in my scorebook, Oakland, Tampa, blah, 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 right? And then put pitching tonight, Jacob DeGrom. There's no way that happens.
Well, they're trying to. This was Andy Martino of SNY who reported this, that they were going to meet. Remember last year they offered a big deal to Freddie Freeman to come to play in Tampa.
It wasn't that big. It was like $155 million.
That's big for them.
No, no, that's not what you just said. You just said they offered him a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
And I just said, no, they didn't.
It was five. What was
you said for them. Okay. You got to then say it's for them, because $155 million in Major League Baseball is not a big deal.
What did he end up getting with the Dodgers? Was it 180?
275.
Oh, that's way too high.
What do you get?
I thought it was like 180.
What do you get?
Maybe
I'm way too high.
6-year. Okay, 6-year contract for $162 million.
Oh. And what they used was the state taxes to say that our deal's better.
Yeah, and I think that the Rays
corrected.
The Rays offered, I want to say it was like 5 or 6 years for like 155 or something like that.
It was 155.
Yeah. So,
or that's what I read.
Yeah, that's what I read. So it's $7 million less to play in LA.
But the state tax is at 13.3% for 81 of your games, plus the games you play in Anaheim. So plus the games you play in San Francisco. Got to remember, you get taxed for where you play. And you're getting taxed at a rate of 13.3%. I believe. I don't know how your tax attorneys can rig this, but you're getting taxed well over 10%. So you get taxed for the 81 games you play at Dodger Stadium. You'll get taxed that rate for all the games you play in San Diego, all the games you play in San Francisco, and the games you play in Anaheim. And if it's at that time of year where the National League West is playing the American League West, and they have to come to Oakland, you'll get taxed at the games you play in Oakland.
You don't have to worry about that anymore. It's going to happen every year at the balanced schedule.
But what I'm saying, when you're offering the no state taxes, it's significant. But Freddie Freeman, being from Southern California, going back home, family, meant more than the taxes and playing in front of 7,000 people a night.
Well, the crazy thing, too, is I looked it up. The Rays estimated payroll for this year or going into next year will be around, I think, $68 million. And right now they're paying Tyler Glasnow. Going this year, they paid him $5.35 million for 2023. Then the next part of his deal, it'll be $25 million they have to pay him. So he's going to be their highest paid player. So you're telling me that $68 million is their payroll, and you're going to pay Jacob deGrom almost more than half of that if you want to increase it? I do not see them doing it.
Well, they like their starters only going 5 innings, so he'll fit right in.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot to get into today. Chris Rose. Chris, what is this? It's Rotation and Baseball Today podcast?
Chris Rose Rotation.
The rotation of the guys.
Yeah, Chris Rose Rotation and Baseball Today podcast.
On John Boy Media, of course, still with the NFL Network. Chris Rose, absolutely love him. Best damn sports show back in the day. We'll have him at 1:30, and then our national baseball columnist from The Athletic, Eno Sarris, will be here at 2 o'clock, and we'll see Eno down at the winter meetings.
Correct. Yeah, I talked to him about that. He's going to be down there. There's a lot of people we're going to see down there. I'm looking forward to it. But there is a lot of other news that's gone on in baseball. There's reports out there now about Xander Bogaerts. This is according to Peter Gammons of The Athletic, the Hall of Famer, that Bogaerts has severed ties with Boston and won't be going back. He heard this from 3 different sources. Then Sam Kennedy, I believe the president of the Red Sox, and Scott Boras' agent said that's not true. But now there's rumors that the D-backs and Cubs are linked to him. So Torey Lovello and Mike Hazen.
Kobe Bryant will never play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant will never see this. Blah, blah, blah. It's my blah, blah, blah sign. That's not news. That's rumors. News is something you got. You're giving me rumors. You got rumors or you got news?
Most of it's rumors.
No, news is Don Mattingly is officially signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. Donnie Baseball is now the bench coach for the Toronto Blue Jays. So now we can add to Don Mattingly, could be Hall of Famer as of Sunday. Toronto Blue Jay great Don Mattingly, to go along with the great Marlin Don Mattingly. Also, Dodger great Don Mattingly.
Charlie Montoya, the former Blue Jays manager, is now the new bench coach in Chicago under their first-year manager, Pedro Grifol. Tony Clark got a 5-year extension to stay as the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association.
I heard that, and I was like...
Shohei Ohtani voted as the Edgar Martinez Outstanding Designated Hitter Award for the 2nd straight year. First player to do that since David Ortiz did it in his career. Funny, though, he didn't win the Silver Slugger.
Yeah, because some guy in Houston won it.
Yeah. So I don't know how you're the best DH, but you don't win the Silver Slugger Award.
Well, I will say this. He is a DH. I mean, the one thing to give Shohei Ohtani is that he does not venture out. I mean, he's only done it a couple times. He didn't do it last year. He does not play the field other than pitcher. So he truly is a DH. He's not going to go out to first. He's not going out to left, not going out to right. If he is going to play other than pitching, I have no problem with that because Alvarez plays left field.
He'll probably be their left fielder next year now.
I mean, he goes out and plays. I don't know how many games. I know he did it against us. But Alvarez does go out and play left field. He'll play the outfield. Shohei Ohtani, like Edgar Martinez. I mean, you think of certain guys, and it usually was great players at the end of their career, like Paul Molitor, Dave Winfield. They didn't touch a glove. They were DHing. They're future Hall of Famers, great hitters. Their defensive days were far behind him. How many times did he play in the outfield?
Looks like he played 56 games in the outfield.
Okay, so then he wasn't just a primary DH.
Yeah, 77 games at DH, 56
so
games.
So take it back. Shohei Ohtani, as much as you've ripped him on this program, show Shohei Ohtani some love here as he deserves the award.
I just find it interesting that he wasn't the best. He wasn't Silver Slugger DH then.
Well, how do they determine Silver Slugger?
I don't know the formula. I'm sure there's probably some. Well, I don't think the formula is going to be as intense as xWOBA or RA24.
Maybe, that's kind of a problem with our game. Is we got all this stuff goes on in our game and we don't even know how does it work. Like we have this committee of 16 different people on Sunday. Part players, part executives, part writers. They're going to decide the future Baseball Hall of Fame or not, for guys who are now off the contemporary ballot, right? You had your 15 years, now 10 years, used to be 15. You didn't get in, but you got enough votes and percentage that you can now be on this list. So it's it's basically the committee that says we know the writers get it wrong, and the writers may not be all right, but it's this archaic system that we continue to go with. So if they got it wrong, can we right some wrongs with a very educated, you start looking at some of the people that have Hall of Fame votes, it's mind-boggling. No offense to some of you, you have no right to have a Hall of Fame vote. Zero. But you do. If you didn't get it right, we now take you to this committee that's of 16, that's a very educated committee, and they can right some wrongs. Fair way to explain it?
Yes.
And if you can't make it through this committee, there's no way you should be a Hall of Famer. All right, coming up next, one of our all-time favorites, Chris Rose, will join us right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Senior writer for MLB Pipeline Jim Callis stopped by A's Cast Live and discussed the prospects he likes in the A's farm system.
I like Ken Waldichuk. I think he's a little unheralded. I think Tyler Soder, like Shea Langoliers got there this year. I really like Shea Langoliers. I think having Shea Langoliers makes it easier to let Tyler Soderstrom do what he does best, which is hit. And it's always tough when you have a really offensive-minded catcher like Tyler was, where if you catch him, it detracts from his hitting because of the time you have to devote to catching and then the physical toll. So I think they're going to get more out of Tyler Soderstrom's bat.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Forst, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast, and you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrier locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
I am just learning right now from our great sponsor, Last Dive Bar. They have put together a 2023 calendar. And you can start buying it on Friday, lastdivebar.com. I guess I can't show it yet, but it's a 2023 wall calendar that I guarantee you we will have here on A's Cast. But you want to start talking about it's this time of the year, right? I mean, aren't we already? What are you getting for Christmas? What are you getting this person? What are you getting that person? I don't know about you, but I was doing some online shopping. I got some new A's gear coming for 2023. For this show, for stuff that I do on NBC, I got some new polos. I got some new pullovers. And my wife is now at a point. You call him Chris?
He's there.
My wife is at a point, like, how much Raider and A's gear can you possibly have? The great Chris Rose is with us now as he's back once again here on A's Cast Live. Chris, how are you, and how's everything going with the podcast?
Doing okay, guys. How are you?
We're doing great. We're gearing up. We'll be down at the winter meetings once again down in San Diego. What we're trying to tell everybody is, like, it's been a wild couple of years between COVID and the shutdown and no winter meetings to the lockout last year. It's been a while since our baseball world has gotten together, and the last time we did it was also in San Diego in 2019. It's going to be great to see everybody and kind of get our business going back to some normalcy.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be great to see everybody. It's it has been a strange few years. There's no question about it. So it's always fun. It's always great people watching, and hopefully things will start to pick up a little bit. I know we've had a couple of signings here and there, but really not much. And the last time I think we were in San Diego, Garrett Cole, Anthony Rendon, and Steven Strasburg all signed for at least $245 million. So that made it a fun time there. And like I said, hopefully that'll continue.
Oh, yeah. Our set was right next to the Yes Network when Garrett Cole signed. It was like a bomb went off. It was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, there's different strategies, right? And, of course, all your great work in the NFL with the National Football League and the way that NFL free agency or NBA free agency, it's just like it comes out like a horse race and everybody signs and it takes over. Baseball, it can be dragged out. Look at how Harper Machado signed late with Philly and San Diego well after January 1st. So when you look at it, covering all the sports that you do, which one do you like better? Do you like it all at once, or do you like a whole process through the winter like baseball?
No, I like it. I like it happening right out of the gate. In fact, it bothers the hell out of me that it drags on this long in baseball. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's good for the fan bases. Like, how great would it be if a big name signed right now and you could be printing jerseys for the holiday season?
Yeah.
Like, God forbid we try to get a fan base excited about something. It's just unfortunate. I love baseball. Football and baseball are a coin flip in terms of my passion. But at the same time, there's things about the sport that inherently bother the crap out of me. And this is part of it. It's just everything about it is so slow. It's like it's a reactionary sport instead of being proactive. And that's pretty much across the board.
I could not agree more. I think about it when you start talking about like expanding the playoffs. And I had so many people on this show and so many people that we deal with that come into town at the Coliseum complaining about expanding the playoffs and it cheapens the regular season. And I'm like, I'm looking at these people going, do you watch the NFL? Do you watch the NBA? Do you watch hockey? Do you watch how they've expanded the NCAA tournament? They're expanding college football. It all works. It generates more money. It generates more interest. And then we finally really have it this year. And you realize the ratings are up. The interest is up. It's just like, why is it everybody is so, speaking of the winter, like the way the winter meetings used to go, like you said, let's get this thing going. Let's start promote. We can get people, we can start selling whoever sells what for Christmas. Is like, why is everything so late to the party in our sport?
Don't know. I don't have an answer for it. I just think that, they're the powers that be are so worried about pissing off the fan that they've got instead of trying to engage the fan that they don't have. And listen, I'm not an idiot. I understand that there are inherent parts of the sport that aren't conducive to some of the younger people, right? I mean, there's a pace to baseball, and there's not. Sometimes we go 6 to 8 minutes without having a pitch put in play, right? If you get a commercial break, if you get 2 hitters that strike out to end the inning, or one person walks, and and there's another strikeout, and then it's the end of an inning, and then the strikeout to lead off the inning, and then a walk. Like, you literally can go even 10 minutes without seeing a ball put in play. So, I'm all for just trying stuff, and I didn't mind the expanded playoffs at all. The thing I was disappointed in was that we basically knew the National League playoff picture. We didn't necessarily know the order, but we knew who was going with like 2 weeks to go in the season. Once Milwaukee took a dump, that was it.
Well, it is the Chris Rose rotation and your podcast. And we kind of did something, obviously the broadcast and podcasts are different, but we did something similar with our broadcast where traditionally it's the manager show before every single game. We switched it up this year. So at the start of a series, Friday was the manager, Saturday was the pitching coach, Sunday was the hitting coach. If it was a 4-game series, it would be the bench coach on the 4th game, to where you get a different perspective every single day instead of the exact same perspective for 162. A rotation of thoughts and different questions. I kind of think similar. It's not apples to apples, but kind of similar when you have the different players that you have on. Just talk about how fresh that is, and there's always a different perspective on your podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. And by the way, I think that Mark Kotsay probably really appreciated it on top of everything else.
In his first year, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is important to get that. It's important to get guys with different backgrounds that play different positions. I know that most of my rotation are pitchers. They're just easier to get more frequently than everyday ball players. But I would like to expand that a little bit and try and get more everyday ball players interested in joining the rotation. But 2 guys can even play in the same game and have totally different perspectives, right? I had Austin Hedges and Tyler Glasnow going against one another in the playoffs. And so they kind of walked us through the walk-off by Oscar Gonzalez, one from one angle and one from the other. And as you could imagine, the stories were totally opposite. The feelings were opposite. And so you saw as a fan the same game, but you got the inside story that took you 2 totally different directions.
One thing that we'll discuss a lot down at the winter meetings, and it kind of excites me because analytics, math, doesn't really excite a lot of people. And how do we come up with weighted runs created plus or xWOBA and what's the nobody cares. But the one thing that's really changing in our sport that we can really talk about, and Adam Ottavino was on MLB Network last night really talking about this, is biomechanics, how the human body works. And all sports are doing this, and it's, we all kind of fascinated about how our arms and our legs and our torso and our core and how it all moves. I know this big in golf right now. It's really becoming big in baseball. Why does a 6'4" skinny guy throw 102 miles an hour, but so does a short, portly guy can throw 102 miles? How are we making all this happen in baseball? How do we have this launch angle? How does the human body work? That's really like the next phase of where baseball is going to. Do you guys talk about that? Do you have any interest in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I suppose I do have an interest. I don't know if I would seek it out, but if I was shuffling through Twitter and there was a 3-minute explanation on it, I would probably sit through it and watch it. I like it that it's available for everybody. I do. I think that that's really important that, basically the sports media world has become on demand. That's what people want. They don't want to have to go sit in front of their TV at 2:00 to go watch this or that. They want it when they want it. And that's why, so many of the streaming services are doing so well, right? You can just have it when it's ready and it's not going anywhere. And if you didn't have a chance to see it when it was on at 11:00, it's still going to be there at 1:00. So I guess, it kind of takes your question with the biomechanics of the area and, I'm steering it a different direction. But yeah, I'm appreciative that at least it's there for the people that are interested in it all.
Obviously we're the entertainment business and we want to be entertained and stars entertain. And right now these numbers for Aaron Judge are going to be huge. And after you have a year like he had, get as much as you can get. I'm usually pro player on that. But I think a lot of the guys that we're talking about, at least early here in the meetings, except for some of the shortstops, we're looking at guys where you say, okay, if you pay Aaron Judge 10 years, that means you're paying him till he's 41. You're talking about a maybe 3-year deal for a guy like Justin Verlander, who's 39 years old. You're talking about Jacob deGrom, a multi-year deal for a guy who's now going 35, 36, 37, maybe 38. Where are you and what have we learned about giving big guaranteed money to guys that are getting older?
Well, there's no question that the Max Scherzer to Washington deal was kind of the outlier, right? I mean, that was 7 years, and I think there's no question that the Nationals sat there and loved every one of them, right? I mean, heading into the last year of his deal, they ended up kind of turning into, Josiah Gray and Keibert Ruiz, and hopefully those guys will be a couple of the young pillars as the Nationals try and make a comeback. But the previous 6 years were fantastic. But at the same time, like, if I'm a Yankee fan, I just want Aaron Judge there, and I want him to help us get back to the World Series, which we haven't been to since 2009. I can't sit here and worry about what he looks like when he's 39 or 40. It's just, I mean, wouldn't it be a disastrous offseason if the Yankees lost him? I don't care who they get. If they sign a shortstop, which doesn't make any sense to me, or if they sign Jacob deGrom but they lose Aaron Judge, how are Yankee fans feeling?
Oh, I know. They're going to freak out. You're going to lose the guy who they've already got a spot for him in Monument Park. If you lose him, my God.
Yeah, and so I think you'll drive yourself nuts if you sit here and say, well, what's that guy going to be at 39 or 40? Okay, well, he's probably going to stink and you're probably going to be sitting there hating the contract, but that's how you have to pay. It just is. I mean, Aaron Judge isn't going to sit there and he's going to be like, you know what? I really care about the franchise, so let me only take a 5-year deal for $30 million a year for 150 total. I think that'll help you guys out the most. Nor should he do that. He should do what's best for Aaron Judge. He should have no loyalty whatsoever to the New York Yankees. He should have loyalty to his wife and his family and himself, and that is it. And the rest of it is up to the teams to figure out.
Well, we know you're a Cleveland Guardians fan. Terry Francona will be joining us, a former bench coach for the Oakland Athletics. He will be joining us in San Diego for the winter meetings, so I can't wait to talk to Tito. Are you excited about this offseason going into next year, especially about the way your guys performed getting into that next round against the Yankees.
Yeah, this was as enjoyable a season as we've had, and obviously since that World Series run, and that even included the 100-win teams and the winning 22 in a row and all that sort of stuff, because it was really unexpected. When the season started last year, I remember I was in Cabo with my wife and a couple of friends, and I snuck away to kind of watch the first game against Kansas City, and we could barely put the ball in play, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be such a crappy year. Like, we can't hit. And they put it together, and they used like 17 rookies this season. When you're using 17 rookies, it's usually because your team stinks and you got no shot or you have massive injuries. Those weren't the two cases here with the Guardians, and they just did a phenomenal job of having these kids be ready and the kids being up for the challenge, and they were a fun team to root for. Now, the key is they got to get better, because they can't consistently compete with the Houstons and the New Yorks of the world and possibly one or two other teams in the American League if they don't get more offense, because they're going to have to.
On the way out, we got to pick your NFL brain, and the season, obviously exciting. We're about to get to December. The bad weather is here, and it's just going to get worse, and football is always great at this time of the year and in the holidays. So what excites you about this season going forward, as before you know it, we'll be at the playoffs?
Well, the team in your area, I always watch the Niners closely. I love the way that they're built. I love it. I think it's just awesome, because they are a team that you could put in any part of the country at any month of the year, and they would be awesome. I mean, we saw it last year with their win up in Green Bay. They were a dropped Jaworski Tart interception away from heading to their second Super Bowl in the last 3 seasons or whatever it was. So they're always super interesting. This is going to be a great game that nobody in the country is basically going to see because of the TV deals this weekend as they host the Dolphins. I'm curious about the Dallas Cowboys. I think usually we just talk them up because they're the Dallas Cowboys, but I think there's some substance to their team this year. And I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes guy. I just think, I don't think we can be over impressed with what he's done. I'm telling you, I think he's done such a good job to lose a player like Tyreek Hill and replace him with a couple of guys who are solid receivers, but nowhere close to that talent level. And for him to continue to do what he's doing against great competition is fantastic. I'm just such a huge Mahomes guy, and I can't wait until one day we're putting him in the list of top 5, top 8 quarterbacks of all time, because I don't think that time's too far away.
Well, I'll tell you what, working for the Raiders and being on the sidelines for all those years and watching Patrick Mahomes do things that I've never seen any other quarterback do with his body and the way he can deliver the football with that kind of arm strength and the mobility, he is a fun watch, and boy, is he hard to stop. Let's end on this. Let's just say, because I just actually did my guys' football trip to Nevada, where we were in a casino for 3 days betting football. But let's say someone's about to do that, and I got to take not one of the top teams, but I'm going to, the odds are constantly changing, and I can put some money on a team that's got pretty decent odds. Not one of the top, I'm not betting chalk. I'm not betting one of the best, but I'm betting a team that I think will be on the come time when we get to the playoffs and have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Who would that team be for you?
Well, since I work for the NFL Network, I don't know with which you speak in that one area.
I apologize.
But a team that possibly that people aren't going to gravitate toward, because I think, those top teams are Kansas City. People love Dallas.
Philly.
Buffalo. Did I say them? I think no. Buffalo. I think those are probably the top teams, let's just say. But I think the team that you got to keep your eye on is the one that was there last year, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that I don't know where they sit in that little area that you're talking about right now. You can feel free to throw that out there. In fact, I'd be curious myself. But I'm a huge Burrow guy. Even though I'm a Cleveland fan, I love watching him. I think that T. Higgins is unbelievable. What he's done without Jamar Chase the last month has been extraordinary. I think their defense is playing better. The way they shut down Derrick Henry last week, holding him to less than 40 yards. And they know that they can win anywhere at any time. And that's a big deal, that if you can believe in that, you can get it done. So that's the team I'd look at.
Great stuff. We always appreciate the time. Hopefully we'll see you in San Diego. Continued success with the podcast and the great work on the NFL Network, and be well.
Guys, I appreciate it as always. Thanks.
Chris Rose, one of the top TV hosts that we have in this country. He's been doing it for a long, long time. And, of course, he's got his new podcast with different players. It's the rotation. I like how they do that. It gives you a fresh perspective. I got to talk to Cody every day. He gets all these different big leaguers. I get Cody. We got more coming up next right here on A's Cast Live.
Spring training is right around the corner, and you can be part of the excitement. Get your tickets now and plan ahead for a fun-filled trip to Mesa, Arizona this spring. Pack the sunscreen, bring your friends, pick up some ballpark classics, and watch your green and gold get ready for the regular season. Get your tickets today to see the Athletics take on the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Tickets are on sale now at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Force, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast. And you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
Coming in at 5'3", it's #1 mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer, restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
Senior writer for MLB Pipeline Jim Callis was on A's Cast Live and discussed which A's prospect impressed him at the Arizona Fall League.
Zach Geloff kind of stood out to me the most. I'll tell you what surprised me the most about him. He looked pretty good at second base. I think of him as more of a third baseman. I know they play him a lot at second. He looked pretty good at second base when I saw him. I was there for a week. I'll go back to the final week too. But he was pretty impressive. I mean, I know he can hit. He's moved real quick in the minors. I remember I actually saw him for the first time in Arizona. We broadcast the MLB4 tournament. This would have been 2019. It was his first game he played in college. I remember watching him in BP thinking, I'd never heard of him. The way we split the draft in MLB, I have half the country, but I didn't have Zach Geloff, who's from New Jersey. So I didn't really know much about him. I'm like, man, this guy looks really good in BP. And then he hit 3 doubles in the game. But I think Zach Geloff, the question is he a guy who's a solid player versus a guy who's like a cornerstone you build a team around? He might be more of that solid regular than a, true star you build around. But he looked really good in Arizona.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Hey, A's fans. You know that running your own business is a slugfest every day. That's why businesses have been counting on Mechanics Bank since 1905. From operating lines of credit to equipment and real estate loans, they can help build your lineup to meet today's challenges and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Stop by your local branch or visit mechanicsbank.com today. Mechanics Bank, the official East Bay bank of the Oakland A's. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. All loans subject to program eligibility and credit approval.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
Hitting the road with the family. On your way to nonstop adventures. No worries ahead, because you know you can stop at a Chevron station along the way. Get fuel for your car, fuel for your crew. That's Chevron with Techron for unbeatable mileage and snacks for all. Coffee for mom, chips for the kids, cold drinks for dad. You know, for the road ahead. Toss in some laughs, out-of-tune singing, and a zillion "Are we there yet?" And you just made lifelong family memories. Chevron, together ahead.
Streaming from the East Bay, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
I got the email today from the Athletics about my bio for the upcoming 2023 media guide. You know, if I kind of like fibbed on stuff, you think they would just put it in there?
It's a good question. I mean, who was that? Was it Mike Selleck?
No, Greg.
Oh,
the great Greg Korn.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Former Guardian employee,
That's
but was
true.
originally our employee.
I'm curious to see what you put in there if it ran in. Like, are you talking like Ron Burgundy on teleprompter? Whatever you put in there, they'll just put on. Like,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like I was a freedom fighter, or I jump out of airplanes, or I rescued people in the South American jungles. I mean, just something crazy.
I think that would be. They probably will fact check that due to your age. But if you want more recently, like Desert Storm or something, maybe.
Will run for president in 2032.
Former president of the Broadcasters Association at San Jose State University.
Chris's goal is just someday to be president of the United States, and he's looking at a campaign for 2032 or 2034, whenever it'll be. And see if they'll just put it in there.
I mean, it would be kind of funny. But then it's in the media guide. Everyone's like, oh, so you have a presidential candidate?
First of all, does anybody even read the media guides anymore? And do they even read the broadcasters? We're at the end of the media guide.
I think it also goes online, though. Like,
who reads that?
Well, I mean, you look up the front office directory. I mean, it says right there. It'll say Chris Townsend.
No, it goes Billy Bean. It goes David Force. Then it goes.
Oh no, our sub channel's way down at the bottom.
I mean, it's a fine side of it. Billy Owens. I mean, it is all these guys. Pam Pitts, the great Pam Pitts, and then we're at the bottom. You think they get to me?
I think you have a bigger bio than like I would or Ray would. Or
well, you don't have a bio.
Oh yeah, it's just what my title is.
Chris brought me over from 95.7 The Game, and that would be like your title.
Multimedia producer.
Yeah. I think we should just see what we can get through.
Well, now it's out here. What if Greg's watching? Now he knows.
Chris does everything for the children and saves lives.
Well, speaking of doing things for people,
Oh, here you go. You ready for the holiday season script? Because it is the holiday season.
True. This holiday season, the A's are celebrating the community champions who are dedicated to improving and supporting our communities. Fans can now self-nominate or nominate a person in their community who they believe has demonstrated courage, strength, and self-sacrifice while lending a helping hand. Nominations can be submitted at athletics.com/community champion. I'm going to put up the slide on the backdrop here, or on the background, so you'll see it right here, about nominating a community champion. The A's will select one community champion each week in December, highlighting 5 in total to receive the recognition on the team's social media channels. Each community champion will also receive a special gift from the A's. Fans can nominate a community champion at athletics.com/community champion until December 20th. That's a Tuesday, December 20th. The A's will select and recognize a community champion each week in December. Athletics.com/community champion. It's a great cause. We had Giving Tuesday yesterday, which is also a great day.
If you didn't hop on that Friday deal, 4 Friday tickets and parking for $49. I mean, seriously, that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, we ran a commercial spot on A's Cast from when it started till the end of Monday. We promoted it like crazy on Monday as well when we were on.
The deals are flying everywhere. I mean, are you on? I buy a lot of stuff off MLB.com over the years, so they're hammering me. Black Friday, MLB.com. So, I contribute to the merchandise that all the different teams split. I contribute to that fund. So when Major League Baseball splits up all the money from the merchandise, I want to be known I'm not Johnny Freebie. I pay for a lot of stuff. I buy a lot of the stuff you'll see on A's Cast. I buy myself. Are you getting a lot of those emails?
Yes, I do. Eno's here, so let me add him to the stream. And
Eno gets everything for free. This guy hasn't paid for anything. This guy probably hasn't paid for anything in a ballpark in probably 10 years, you think?
Not sure, but let's play is open first.
Open.
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Not only is he our national baseball columnist from The Athletic, he is now a new voter for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And if you didn't see him on MLB Network doing the interview, I did. Fantastic job, talking about, of course, you've been on MLB Network for a long time, but now it's like you're the official guy. You're an official voter.
10 years. I got my print ballot in the mail. It looks like it was also made 10 years ago. No, I think I love how passionate people are about it. I also hate how passionate people are about it because it is the only thing that I've ever written that has made people tell me to go kill myself.
It wasn't the sticky stuff?
No, it was an argument for Barry Bonds going into the Hall of Fame. That was my first foray into how passionate people are about the Hall of Fame, which is cool. I understand it. But I also think that there's a lot of gray area here that, we have to talk about. I mean, I think the sticky stuff thing has actually been really interesting for me because it was a real eye-opening experience to how much cheating is going on in baseball and how it really takes a concerted effort from Major League Baseball, from the commissioner's office to stop any sort of cheating. They sent out memos. Everyone knew that sticky stuff was cheating. They sent out memos. They said, this year we're going to do something about it. Oh, you guys better watch out. This year we're going to do something about it. And it took until umpires were actually fondling pitchers on the mound for us to see any change in pitching in spin rate. And I see that as being relevant to Carlos Beltran's candidacy for the Hall of Fame, Gary Sheffield's candidacy, all these sort of fringe, these people that were involved in things where baseball's enforcement was changing around them. Baseball's enforcement of the steroid era changed during Gary Sheffield's career. Baseball's enforcement of how they looked at sign stealing changed during Carlos Beltran's career. So I kind of look at those moments, and those players in particular are stuck in places where it's difficult to talk about it. I mean, I understand that people would be mad if I vote for Gary Sheffield or Carlos Beltran, but they're a little different for me than like Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez, where their failed tests and their things were in a different time. Baseball had said, we have an enforcement policy. This is what it is. You broke the rules and you knew there would be consequences.
Yeah, I found your interview to be interesting, because Brian Kenny didn't agree with you on quite a bit, which I thought would make for good television. That's what we're all about, right? We want good entertainment. I want to be entertained when I watch MLB Network, or when I listen or watch A's Cast, I want to be entertained. And this is the very tough part, and it's going to be here for a while. It's going to be, and as you said in the interview, I'm not why do I have to be the detective? Like, I think you said you're a sleuth, I think is what you called yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I have to decipher, Gary Sheffield from Alex Rodriguez, from Jeff Bagwell and Mike Piazza? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Why is Jeff Bagwell the clean one? He was huge, and dude, like, do people not understand how steroids work? Like, it doesn't always make you huge. There were pitchers doing it. There are lean people.
Cologne.
There are also lean people. There are lean people that do steroids. Like, there are people that win sprinting competitions, or or swimmers. Bicyclers are doing steroids. Have you ever looked at a professional? Have you ever looked at a professional bicycler and be like, oh yeah, that guy's on steroids? Yes, their thighs are humongous, but it's not easy. You can't just look at someone and say, that guy did steroids.
Bartolo Colon, if you lined up everybody and said, take your shirt off, and said, you have to bet your life on picking one of these guys who is not on PEDs. All right, 25 guys, everybody take their shirt off. Everybody's different sizes, but if someone had to say pick, and let me tell you something, Bartolo Colon's gut was so big, it was a professional boiler. It was beautiful. God. It was beautiful.
I have seen it with the shirt off. That's why
what I'm talking about. As a man, you don't want to stand around watch guys without their shirts off. But you're like, right? If someone had to bet on that A's team, all 25 guys, bet your life, who do you think's not on PEDs? You would have chose Bartolo Colon, and guess what? He was the one on PEDs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it puts us in an awful position, and I wasn't even in the clubhouse for a lot of that, so it's kind of a weird spot for me to bet on it. And then on top of that, the commissioner who was in charge of the steroid era is in the Hall of Fame, so there is some complicit, like baseball was somehow complicit in this. I'm not just willing to be like, oh, I mean. I understand. Kenny said they knew it was against the rules and they did it anyway. I guess. But there wasn't a testing policy. So baseball was kind of like, don't do it. What are we going to do about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. We're not doing anything about it.
And Brian didn't bring this up. Your best argument is to have anabolic steroids on you is illegal. You're not allowed to. If you don't get, and you're not even going to get a prescription for it, but you're not allowed to be having, as guys have been popped with it in their cars with needles and stuff, or at the gym, you're not allowed to legally have anabolic. So it's like, it's illegal, but baseball didn't test for it. I mean, it's so murky.
But then, I mean, then let's, I mean, do we want to get into it? Because I'm sure there's the morals clause. That's the problem. The morals clause, there is a morals clause in the vote. We're supposed to consider this, right? But everyone has a different sense of morals. And if we're going to get into it, there are people who've beaten their wives, people, DUIs,
street drugs,
there's all sorts of stuff in there. The Hall of Fame is not full of beautiful people that are all like, they all did it exactly the right way. In fact, there are people in the Hall of Fame who are on PEDs. I'm sure of it. I'm just guessing from the number, like for the percentage of people and the people who are in there. So, so I don't really love doing the morals bit. And the last bit for me, and I didn't get into this with Brian, and I just think this is interesting, is to me, the Hall of Fame is a museum. And I understand that it's difficult to have this conversation with younger people. And that was why somebody who was really mad at me about Barry Bonds, would you tell your child to be like Barry Bonds? And I have children, and it's actually easy to talk to them. You just have to talk. You just have to say it. You just have to talk about it, right? We've gone to museums. Like I went to MoMA with my kids. Yes, son, that is what you think it is. That is the body part you think it is, right? It's like, like we can have these conversations. So to me, the Hall of Fame is a museum. Put the people in the museum. And if you want to put something on their plaque that says, was indicted in the Balco, was this happened. If you want to put some information on there, put some information on there and let the record speak for itself. You know what I mean?
It's a museum of history. And all the
so if it's a museum of history and you're there with your kid and the kid goes, wow, Barry Bonds, look at all these numbers. He was the greatest. You say, read on that plaque, son. It wasn't all good.
And I don't agree with that argument. As someone who's been to the Baseball Hall of Fame 3 times, the argument that people have that, well, wait a minute, you can have their stuff in the other parts, on the timeline and that. No. You have to tell just having Barry Bonds' jersey on the timeline doesn't tell the history of Barry Bonds in baseball.
Well, that's an even weirder question.
You need to tell the
Daddy,
history.
why is the best hitter in baseball history not in this room?
Yeah. It's like you don't go to a World War II and I've been to the World War I museum in Kansas City. It's fabulous. You don't go to that. You don't go to these different Smithsonians and different museums and not have the bad. The bad's got to be in there too, because that tells the history. So, but on Sunday, we're getting to San Diego on Monday. When are you getting there?
I'm getting there Sunday.
All right. When you're there on Sunday, you land in San Diego. Will we have new Hall of Famers from this veterans class?
It takes, when you get that smaller group together, the 75% thing is really rough. That like one person saying no or yes is so I think maybe no, because, in some ways, some of these players are going to be harder on Barry Bonds than some of the writers. So, I kind of say no, but if it is a yes, it's not Barry and Roger. I don't think.
No. I got one guy who I think is for sure.
Who's that?
Fred McGriff. You're gonna have Paul Beeston on that, one of the 16, who was the executive when Fred was there with the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
and you got Maddox and you got Chipper Jones, so he's got 3 yeses right out of the gate.
Yeah,
and
he fits that sort of. Did Harold Baines come in off that or?
Yes.
Yeah, he fits that sort of. Was a veteran around a long time, like.
But his numbers, Brian
played with him.
Brian Kenny did today on MLB Now. His first 15 years in the big leagues, him and Bonds are like almost neck and neck on everything, except postseason, where Fred McGriff was a monster and Bonds was a choke job. Fred McGriff was one of the main power hitters year after year after year, always in the MVP balloting, one of the best hitters and pretty good defensively. Yeah, think back. Fred McGriff, if there's no strike, Fred McGriff has over 500 home runs.
Yeah, and he reminds me a little bit of the Rafael Palmeiro, without the steroid part of it, where he was just excellent every year, hit for average, hit for power, sweet stroke, was a really good player. Was a playoff player too, was a guy in the postseason every year. So yeah, I could see that. It would be that kind of player where, the players just feel like he was a kind of a good guy. And like, I just don't, the players probably hated Barry as much as anybody else.
He had like 3 friends. It was Bonilla, Mike Devereaux, and there was somebody else. There was like 3 friends in the game, and that was it. We just had Chris Rose on, and Chris Rose is a broadcaster, and is definitely about the entertainment and TV side of things and now doing the podcast. So I asked him this question. He wasn't into it. I think I'm going to ask you the same question. I think I'm going to get a different response. We're going to the winter meetings, and there's quite a few guys that we're talking big numbers and certain years, and looking at their ages is interesting. So you're looking at maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 years for Aaron Judge, whatever you're believing out there. That's paying him into his 40s. Verlander trying to get 3 years. He's at 39 now. DeGrom trying to get X amount of years. He's going to be 30. He's 35, about to be 36. We got older guys looking for big money and guaranteed years. How do you feel about that?
Sometimes it's the price of admission that you just know you're going to have these guys at the end when you're paying them and they're either not on the roster. I think the worst case scenario is kind of like the Eric Hosmer situation, where you pay like a large dollar amount for a guy that isn't worth that early on in the deal, and it's not because of injury or age. You know what I mean? So like
he's just not worth it.
He's just not worth it. So then you're like, oh man, we have like the Padres for like 3-4 years have been like, what do we do with this contract? They finally paid to get rid of him.
43 million. The Padres are paid, or at least it was last year. I don't know what this year is. No, it's going to be this year. They're going to pay $43 million, or maybe it's the overall, whatever it is. $43 million is going from the Padres bank account to the Red Sox bank account for Eric Hosmer. That's crazy.
It is crazy, but what would have been better for the Padres is we've been hurt a lot. Now the reason this makes sense to me is that there's unlimited injured list spots. For a team, you can have as many injured list spots as you want. So if the person is good when they play, but is just hurt a lot, which is what happens with older guys, especially older pitchers, I think that's actually okay. Especially if you have an okay farm system where you bring somebody up and you've got a pretty good guy for a while. And then what you're hoping is that Jacob deGrom is healthy in October. It will be November by then. We'll be playing in December pretty soon.
Yeah. Hey, it's game 4 of the World Series.
Yeah. So I think the play for a lot of these big teams like the Dodgers and Yankees is, we're trying to bring our depth up. That's why we pay $1.5 million for Shelby Miller, because we want to have the bottom of our roster has to be good too. But we're also going to pay for somebody who might be hurt near the end of his career, but he'll still be good when he's in. That's why you do it for superstars. You don't give the middle of the order guys too many years. So you like give it DeGrom, Verlander, whatever they want, because they'll probably be good or hurt. And so that's how I make it make sense to me when you talk about years and stuff like that. But you just don't want to get stuck giving a middle guy big money. That's the one thing you don't want to do.
All right. The one position that we are looking at that it's loaded again, it's shortstop. And you're looking around and you're saying, well, do I want Dansby? Do I want Turner? Correa is so interesting to me because you would have thought this had got no way Astros would have ever let him go, but they did. Xander Bogaerts, he'll never play for the Red Sox again. That's what's being reported now. It's like, okay, stop. I mean, we heard that with Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. How'd that work out?
All right.
Willie Adames supposedly is available with the Brewers. I mean, pick a shortstop. They're all over the place. Are we going into San Diego going, I don't know where they're going to be, but it's going to be interesting. They're all going to make out really well.
Yeah, they are. But the thing that's so perilous about buying a shortstop on the market is old shortstops don't really exist anymore. Last year there were two or three shortstops. I think Elvis Andrus and Brandon Crawford were the only ones over 30. Right? Yeah. So 30 is a demarcation line. Guess what? Correa is 28. Yeah. I think you got 29 on Xander, and the other two are 30. So you have to, on some level, think about where are they going to play next. So when I was looking through these guys, and I looked through their arms, their legs, power, and their plate skills, and none of them are that fast. Trey Turner is second fastest shortstop, and he's like top 5 in baseball, so he's pretty fast. He's the fastest guy.
Outfield.
Exactly. That may be why I like him the best, because he can play shortstop, but he's the only one, I think, of the 4 that can play center afterwards.
You know, it kind of sounds like running backs in the NFL. Once you hit 30, you're done. You know, the days of Marcus Allen being 36 and running the rock, that's not happening. So, okay, so let's play this game. Correa, you would say, size-wise, gets older, plays third, right?
Plays third. I think Xander plays third. Swanson plays second, maybe. That's why I also looked at the arm. Dansby Swanson had the 48th strongest arm at shortstop last year out of 50.
He's the modern-day David Eckstein?
Yeah. And you know what's changing next year? First base is going to be bigger, right?
Well,
so
you said it's what did you say? It's a medium or large pizza box?
Yeah. So bang bang plays are even bang banger. So, you know, it may not you may not think arm strength is that important, but think about how many bang bang plays there are at first. There are a lot
more. That could be a lot. With the extra bases, we've thought everything about stolen bases, right? For the extra bases.
There's some singles in there too.
There may be a lot of singles, especially with replay, and you got to go back because umpires are so used to calling it also by the sound of the guy hitting the bag, and they're just used to the timing. Now that sound's going to come quicker. We may have a lot more replays, and we may have a lot more infield hits. Something to check.
The other thing about the ages is with Correa being 28, maybe you get a year or two more of him at short. So, you know, I really like Correa. I think overall the best as a bat, and the fact that he's a little bit younger. You know, in terms of power, Correa is the best option of the bunch. In terms of patience at the plate, Correa is the best option of the bunch. So I think his bat alone is the best. I think Treya's overall athleticism is better than his. So those are my two favorite. I'm a little afraid that Dansby gets big money, but is more of a middle player. So I think there's a bit of a trap there where people will say, oh, well, I'm not spending the $250 it took to get Trey, or the $300 or whatever it took to trade Trey. I'm only spending $175 to get Dansby. Well, what if he ends up being your second baseman, you know, 2 years from now, and you're paying, you know, a lot for an okay second baseman in 3 years, 4 years?
This takes me back to my rule at this time of the year, and you can tell me whether I'm full of it or not. But this always scares me. When the team that has you and the team that loves you goes, and I'm thinking about that, like, if the Mets love DeGrom so much, you wouldn't even allow him to be talking to these other teams. But we'll see. Maybe he is back with the Mets. Maybe he's not. All of a sudden, supposedly the Rays are involved. Let's just see. Rays, Rangers, whatever. Dansby, you think about him in Atlanta. They've gone out and signed everybody else.
Everybody else is under contract for 10 years.
Look at the Astros. The Astros said bye-bye to Garrett Cole. They said bye-bye to Carlos Correa. They just won a World Series. So there's something about the team that has you, allows you to leave. They know you better than anybody else. That always worries me.
There's research that confirms what you're saying. Like,
is there
that? Yeah, there's research by Matt Swartz.
Cody says that I never use research.
Well, you didn't. You just came up with this one, but you were right. But there's research that shows that teams that players that stay with their own teams do better. And I think it does have to do. I think it actually has to do with a lot of the softer science parts, where it's like you see how hard this guy works every day. You know, it's harder for a scout to like sit in on a series. And it's kind of hard. Like, you know, teams will even call writers sometimes and be like, hey, you know, how is this guy in the clubhouse? Well, the writer then is like, oh, well, he was mean to me, so I don't like him, whatever, you know, like, you know, everyone has their own, like, scouting makeup is very difficult. The best way to scout makeup is to be around a guy for 3, 4, 5 years, you know, then you really know, like, oh yeah, that guy's a dick to reporters, but he works hard. You the other guys love
That's
him.
what gets me about Correa. Like, Correa really showed himself. I don't know if you got to see it. You can find it on YouTube. But when they brought in Correa to be on TBS, and he sat there and talked about money, and he talked about the numbers that get you money. And then he talked about how he tells the younger players, this is what you should focus on because this is what front offices focus on, and this is how you get paid. It was money, money, money. And I think of two things that kind of, he's not always healthy, and he's so money motivated. And those two things just make me think, is that why we haven't seen anybody just go? I mean, because years ago, you thought Carlos Correa's on the market at that age. I'm signing him right now. You would have thought everybody would have been all in.
Well, I mean, I think there's also there's just some concerns with injury and body size, like you're saying. Can he be shortstop for how long, and so on and so forth. His arm strength was actually the best of the group, but his legs are he's the slowest of the group. But there's a flip side to that, because I know a couple players that fit this mold that you're talking about. And I know that for Correa and for this other player I'm thinking of, it's like other players love them. And it actually can be useful in the clubhouse because they become sort of technology and data adapters. And they tell the young kids, yeah, maybe the motivation is money, but it is work. And they're all trying to make money. And what ends up happening is they provide leadership where it's actually good for the team. Like, other players then start being like, oh, maybe I should try out that technology that Carlos Correa is using. He just told me that can make me better in a way that I'll get a better contract later. Like, the end result is still the players around them get better. Like, it's weird leadership. Yes, it's like money based, but the players around them get better.
It can flip on you, because if your goal in life and all these different, I've been reading a lot this off season about the brain, the human mind, and how to achieve. And once you've reached your goal, a lot of people don't keep getting better. And if this goal of yours is always just money motivated, and you end up signing this big deal, and now money is not the motivator anymore, and now we hit those years where you're 33, 34, 35, 36, and the motivation that got you to be great was always the money, that's where, yes, I hear what you're saying. Oh, I want to make money. That means I want to be better. I want to use this technology. I want to use this data and everything. That can be, but will that always motivate you for your entire career to be the best you possibly can be? Because we all know the old fat and happy changes people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of these guys also then start caring about their Hall of Fame credentials and their place in the game. And they do have it shifts to a different level. I mean, you can see somebody like Nolan Arenado, where, he was motivated to get a big contract, but once he got into St. Louis and they were winning, like he made major changes to his swing and his approach this year, pulled more fly balls than he had ever pulled in his career, and had really, he looks now, his whole career trajectory was kind of coming down. It's like back up to another level. Like, definitely he was like maybe fringe Hall of Fame-ish, and now looks like he's on a Hall of Fame kind of a trajectory. So people can kind of adjust a little bit and be like, okay, now I've got the big money. Now I care about making the Hall of Fame or whatever it is. So, I don't know, but I will say that the research does suggest that that teams get their best look at the team that had the player gets the best look at the player, and they do get to offer them money, right? Like, they do get to they do get to have a long window of negotiation, a longer window of negotiation than teams on the free agent market do.
When are we talking to Eno at the winter meetings? Do you know the date? What is the date, Cody?
I told Eno we talk about it, but I mean, whenever he's available.
Because I want Eno to make a big, bad, bold prediction right now, and then we see if it comes true and shower him with greatness while we're in San Diego. So, can you do Wednesday?
I'm flying out Wednesday, so Tuesday's better.
All right, Tuesday better. All right. Do you have anything in your crystal ball so we can show what a genius you are? Do you think will happen at the winter meetings before you come on with us?
None of the shortstops sign. And the first big signing will be a starting pitcher. So it'd be Verlander or DeGrom.
Before Judge.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're talking 4 shortstops and Judge, right?
So the shortstops, I think there's a lot of setting the market, right? One guy has to sign, and then everyone's like, okay, like whoever's the number 1 shortstop signs, and then you'll like in the next 2 weeks, you'll be like, the rest of the shortstops, because they'll be like, oh, I'm not going to get more than him. You know what I mean? Like there'll be like a setting the market. Aaron Judge is setting the market for everybody. Like he's going to wait the longest. He just wants the biggest number. He's going to wait the longest.
So I like it. I like it. So here you have star shortstops, a guy coming off one of the greatest years in the history of baseball. You would think in normal business times, I'm going after these guys, right? No. The old pitchers will sign first.
I think so. Also, we've seen a pretty good track record with old starting pitchers recently. They've been pretty good. Max Scherzer's been really good late into his career. Adam Wainwright's been really good. Like we've had really good old starting pitchers. So I kind of feel like, and the market has been set for them last year. Max Scherzer is making like $40 million a year. So if you want Jacob deGrom or Justin Verlander, you pony up 320, 330, 450, whatever it is, 160. Like that's they don't need to wait around. Like Carlos Rodon is not going to set the market for Jacob deGrom, So I think that they're a separate market. So I think deGrom or Verlander will sign first.
Well, I said this earlier in the show. I used to believe everything I read on the internet and Twitter. Anything that was on there, I thought was gospel until this. The Rays are going to sign deGrom. Now I don't believe everything. There is no way in hell next year at the Coliseum, you and I are there and we're writing Rays starting pitcher Jacob deGrom in our scorebook. There's no way that happens.
I can't see it. They're always involved with any player that like says maybe 1 year is okay. I think that's what they're like. Oh, 1 year? Yeah, we can give you one. But we've seen in the past, their biggest 1 year outlays are like 12 million and 15 million, So just maybe they could have gotten Abreu if the market had gotten really bad for Abreu. Maybe that Josh Bell they could get for 1 year and 15 million, but they're not, I don't think they're going 125, 130, 135. And I think even to get deGrom on a 1 year deal, it would have to get close to that Scherzer 40, There's just no way the Rays are putting out 1 and 30 for anybody.
Play the man, his sponsorship.
The Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
He's our national baseball columnist from The Athletic. I hope everybody, they had a great Black Friday deal. I mean, you basically got The Athletic for nothing. You should get on. It's the best journalism in sports, no question. Fieldwork Brewing. Fabulous. We'll see you in San Diego.
See you in San Diego.
That is our man, Sarris. Great once again. Coming up next, a lot to react to. And oh, by the way, I'm going to make a case for a guy to be a Baseball Hall of Famer. I want you to think about this. He was arguably the best slugger, and he hit like Tony Gwynn all at the same time. And he's not in the Hall of Fame? Next, right here on A's Cast Live.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Force, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast, and you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrier locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Big Murph, Sean Murphy stopped by A's Cast Live to talk about what Stephen Vogt has meant to his career.
You know, Stephen sort of ushered me into my career. My first spring training, he was there. You know, he was the guy I looked up to. I followed him around. And he took me under his wing when he didn't have to, and he made time for me when he didn't have to. And it speaks to who he is as a person. He's just a tremendous person. I can't say enough good words about Stephen. He's a genuine person. He cares. He's sincere with everything he does and everything he says. And it's gonna be a tough day for everybody.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Coming in at 5'3", it's number one mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer, restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
Hey, A's fans, you know that running your own business is a slugfest every day. That's why businesses have been counting on Mechanics Bank since 1905. From operating lines of credit to equipment and real estate loans, they can help build your lineup to meet today's challenges and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Stop by your local branch or visit mechanicsbank.com today. Mechanics Bank, the official East Bay Bank of the Oakland A's. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. All loans subject to program eligibility and credit approval.
A's fans, there is no better way to stay in touch with the A's and even our players than following us on social media. Just head over to athletics.com/social. That's athletics.com/social for a full list of our social coverage, from player accounts to Twitter handles and more. Now is the time to stay in touch. Head over to athletics.com/social. That's athletics.com/social today.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
I want to continue this conversation. You wouldn't live in Palo Alto for free and get paid over $1 million?
I mean, that's great, but if you're going to win football games, I don't know if Stanford's the university I would go to.
Okay. Are you all about just being Johnny Football guy and going into the SEC and being Lane Kiffin? Or would you want to go to a place of higher education, great place to live, and a job where, by the way, your kids go to school there for free, all the perks of being at Stanford? Or are you just about winning football? If you're just about being a football coach, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from being a football coach perspective.
Because you don't have a lot of perspective. You don't look at it that you could live with your family in Palo Alto in a multi-million-dollar home in California and work with the smartest student athletes in the country at a place that is known for winning what they've won the Sears Trophy, whether it is for being the best athletic department in the country. How many times?
I don't know.
Like 11 or something like that. So it's you're working around and the body and your peers are some of the smartest people in the world. You're looking at it, I want to go win football games at Pitt.
Yeah, they don't win games either, though, so it's okay.
So do you see my perspective? Because you looked at me like I was crazy.
No.
Yes, you did.
No, I do see your
You said, who would want to go there? Who they had? They've had some, I don't know, Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
Dennis Green.
And Jim Harbaugh.
They've had some, John Ralston. They've had some pretty impressive coaches at Stanford over the years.
I'm not disagreeing they haven't.
You started off the air. You started with me like, oh, it's a crap job. Why would you want to go there? You'll never win.
If you're looking as a football coach to win a national title, I don't put Stanford in that conversation.
Okay, then where do you go then? Where do you go?
Or win some? I mean,
win a national title. There's 118 Division I football programs. How many coaches have a chance? You're not going to UCLA to win it. Is that a bad job?
That's a great job.
Wait, you're not going to win a national title.
They might this year. They're a top 4 team right now.
UCLA is.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said USC.
No, I said UCLA.
No.
Okay, where in the Big Ten are you going to go to win it? Wisconsin was just – you're going to go to win. Wisconsin's a good job.
I'd probably go there.
But you're not winning a national title at Wisconsin.
Can win at Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
You're going to win at Penn State?
Pretty good track record.
When are you going to win? You're going to win at Penn State. There is literally a handful of schools where you can win the national title. Everybody else, you're looking for a good job.
They're majority SEC schools where you can have a chance to win a national title.
Really? Who's won one?
In the SEC?
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, Georgia.
Okay, Alabama's not up. Nick Saban signed there.
I'm just saying.
Georgia's signed there.
I'm just saying if you want to win a national, those are that's
okay. Georgia just when was the last time Georgia won a national championship?
Didn't they just win last year?
No, before then. When was the last time where Georgia you can win a national championship?
I don't even know when the last time they won.
Herschel Walker was there in the early 80s. That's how long ago it was. God. Oh, tell me all these other great jobs. Oh, Tennessee, they won one with T. Martin. So they've won one in the last many years?
What was that, 1999?
When's the last Florida? Urban Meyer. He's been gone for a long time. Florida's stunk ever since.
15 years
ago?
So
just because you go to the SEC, Mississippi State's never won one. Ole Miss has never won one. Kentucky's never won one. Vanderbilt has never won one. Do I need to keep going? How many jobs you can actually win the national title?
No, but I'm also not motivated by money either.
Well, that's what you'd be. That's not what Stanford is. You're not motivated by money going to Stanford. You're motivated by a great job around great people in an environment like no other. And I hate Stanford as a San Jose State guy. I competed against them and I beat them. But if you're not motivated by money, don't contradict yourself. Then you'd be more in the Stanford case.
Well, that's when I'm not motivated by money. I don't care if I get a free house. Like that's not a selling point for me. Like, oh, you're going to get a free. I don't. That doesn't matter to me.
Well, you'd be getting the same thing at all these other places, but you're not.
Are you going to give me a free house and I go 3-9 every year? Like, what's the point?
You're not in Starksville, Mississippi.
Cost of living's a lot lower.
Now it's about money. You are so. That's.
But yeah, no, I don't know. What the whole reason about this is because Greg Roman reportedly is going to interview for the Stanford.
And by the way, it's not that long ago. Jim Harbaugh had them and David Shaw.
Shaw did a great job.
Had them in BCS games. More BCS games than Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State has not won anything.
I'm not a Penn State fan, but.
Well, you brought up Penn State. I can bring up all these schools that you'll talk about are great jobs. I can say, what do they want?
I mean, they were just in the Rose Bowl a few years ago.
They haven't won a national title since what, the 80s?
Then they went in 95, but I don't know how.
Was that the Hurt when they beat the Hurricanes of Vinny Testaverde?
Yeah,
95?
No, that was 95. Testaverde was in the NFL in the 80s.
Was that 90? Tell me, has Penn State won a national title since I've been out of college?
I thought they won one in 1995.
Yeah, that was my last year of baseball.
What is that? I don't want volleyball. I know they have a good volleyball program. Football. Give me a second because this is a long article. 1994.
Yeah.
Sorry, undefeated seasons.
I don't think they won the national championship that year. But anyway, they haven't won a national championship since the 90s. You know how long ago the 90s was? Where were you in the 90s?
I would have been 6 in 94.
And you're bragging about that's the last time you won a national championship. My God. What are we talking about here? Stanford is an unbelievable job. And a lot of people in coaching will tell you that. And yes, getting a fat house in Palo Alto, California, and all the different perks at being at Stanford versus being at these schools in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest and the South. Are you kidding me?
It says unclaimed national title, 1994. I don't know what we call it.
And when was the one before that? In the 80s?
1986.
But according to him, it's a place where you go to win a national championship.
Or compete for one.
What, in the 90s? Is Joe Paterno coming back from the grave? Is he?
No. Plus, there's a lot of – we don't need to get into Paterno.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Bring up your coach. What's his great, unbelievable? What's he won?
See, he's won at Penn State. He won the Fiesta Bowl, the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, the Outback Bowl.
They lost in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, he was in the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium. Ooh, the Music City Bowl. That's big time. Well, that was at Vanderbilt. Where was he last year?
Last year they were 7-6. This year they're 10-2.
Oh, they're 9-4 in 2020. Huh, that sounds like a national championship.
No, they were 4-5 in 2020.
Oh, they're 4-5.
They only played 9 games.
That's right. They're 7-6, 4-5. These sounds like 9-4. It sounds like real national championships. Save it.
Penn State's also a very good academic school too.
Compared to Stanford?
Well, no, but I'm saying if we want to compare schools,
you want to be in Happy Valley in the middle of Pennsylvania versus Palo Alto, California?
I do not want to live in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you live.
That's why I don't live in Pennsylvania.
Case and point. All right, I thought MLB Network did an unbelievable job breaking down. Who do you want to start with? You want to start out with Fred McGriff or Don Mattingly?
Do the crime dog because he might be the only guy that maybe gets on off the contemporary ballot.
First 15 years of Barry Bonds and Fred McGriff's career. So this is 1998 to 2002 for McGriff. For Bonds, it's 1986 to 1999. So this is this is not actually 100% accurate because the Game of Shadows has Barry Bonds first doing PEDs in 97. But Bonds got hurt. Bonds get hurt where he tore the tricep? This is when the steroids really first started. It's either 97, 98, Bonds got hurt with the tricep. Basically his tricep tore off the bone.
He played in in 94. Well, that was a strike year. 102 games in 99.
So it would have been 99.
Yeah. He still finished 24th
All right,
in the MVP
so this
voting.
is 1986 to 1999. So first 15 years of the career. Batting average, Fred McGriff, 288. Barry Bonds?
Was it like 287?
288. On base percentage, 380. Bonds, 410. Bonds advantage, but a few more walks. Slugging, Fred McGriff, 514. Bonds, 559. Advantage Bonds. Home runs, Fred McGriff, 31. Barry Bonds, 32. So that's the average. RBIs, Fred McGriff, 97. Bonds, 93. Total bases. This tells you, total bases. Fred McGriff, 277. Bonds, 278. Look how close they are. Barry Bonds, major PEDs. Next, hit 73. He's walking more than anyone in the history of the game, and the rest is history. Fred McGriff. Oh, let's do one more. postseason comparison during that time. Fred McGriff in the postseason hit 303. Barry Bonds, 200. 102 points higher Barry Bonds hit in the postseason than Fred McGriff. On base percentage, 385 to 323. Slugging, Barry Bonds, the all-time home run king. Blah, 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 blah. Before steroids, in the postseason, slugging percentage for Fred McGriff versus Barry Bonds. Fred McGriff, 532. Take a guess on Barry.
What was slugging? Postseason?
532 for Fred McGriff.
350.
You're not even close. 288.
That's not good.
Bonds hit 200 with a slugging percentage of 288 versus McGriff's 303 average and slugging of 532.
I mean, Bonds played in the playoffs 3 times with the Giants. 97, 2000, and 2002. 97.
By the way, these numbers, you're going in a different direction here. These numbers, I'm trying to compare McGriff and Bonds. So this was through 99. So that 2000 down doesn't count.
Yeah, so it was mainly with the 3 years with the Pirates and 1 year with the Giants when they
where
lost.
he did nothing.
Yeah, he was not. I mean, he had 1 home run. And from the 1990 playoffs to 97 with the Giants, he had 1 home run. Barry Bonds did.
Yeah.
Not until the 2002 World Series after this is when he started hitting most of his postseason home runs.
Fred McGriff was a perennial all-star. Fred McGriff won a World Series with the Braves. Fred McGriff was highly touted in trade talks. Remember the big trade from Toronto to San Diego to Atlanta? Giants fans remember when the historic run by the Braves to catch the Giants, that was led by the trade by Fred McGriff. He was huge.
93, right?
I mean, Fred McGriff was a beast. If it wasn't for the lockout, was the lockout or strike? What were they?
It was a strike. 94.
Player strike? Was a player strike?
I think so. 94 to 90.
Or did the owners lock him out?
I don't. I was 5.
Whatever. I think it was. Yeah, it probably was a strike.
Yeah, because they didn't come back till 90, some way through 95.
Fred McGriff had 500 home runs.
Yeah, he finished with 493. He would have easily had it.
To me, Fred McGriff, I don't know how. I mean, Fred McGriff should have been voted. It's like, look at all the numbers. Look at the accomplishments. He's one of the only guys ever to lead the American League and the National League in home runs.
I'm trying to see if we can find what his highest percentage of votes were, Hall of Fame. Because obviously he's off the actual ballot, but I want to know what it was. 39 really the highest he ever got was 39%. Really interesting.
And you're talking about putting Scott Rowland in versus Fred McGriff?
Wow. His highest vote total was 39.8. Then it fell, I think, on his last year on the ballot to 11.7.
This guy was a premium slugger. I mean, I don't have defensive metrics on me. I watched a lot of Fred McGriff. He did not suck defensively. Fred McGriff was a slugger, was a legit run producer year after year after year. Give him his career WAR at 52.6.
52.6.
I mean, this guy did not suck, and he doesn't get the love of the WAR because he played first base.
Yeah, and 134 career OPS plus. Remember, league average is 100. I'm trying to see where his defensive stats are.
So that one. How about the Don Mattingly? Now we all know Don Mattingly had a bad back, and that ended up really changing his career. Let me just give you some numbers on Don Mattingly. Was Don Mattingly the best player at one point? Look at these numbers from 1984 to 1987. They're amazing. Can you imagine this player today? His batting average from 1984 to 1987 was 337. So he hits for a high average. His on-base percentage, 381. Fantastic. But his slugging is 560. 560. And his OPS plus is 155 from 1984 to 1987. He's an MVP. These numbers, how about this? From 1984 to 1989, total bases. That's a big deal in our sport.
Correct.
Who do you think had the most total bases in all of baseball over guys who were in the Baseball Hall of Fame, 1984, 1989. Who do you think had the most total bases?
Donnie Baseball.
By a lot. 1,978. The next closest guy is George Taco Bell at 1,858. Kirby Puckett, Hall of Famers on the list. Wade Boggs on the list. And also another guy who we think could get voted in, maybe should get voted in, Dale Murphy's on the list.
2-time MVP.
But he led in total bases. How about this for strikeouts? From 1984 to 1989, Don Mattingly struck out 206 times and walked 293. He had way more walks than strikeouts, and he's a power hitter.
What do you think the most times you struck out in a year was?
Hold on, I'm not done.
Okay.
Highest slugging percentage from 1984 to 1987. You've got Mike Schmidt on this list. You got Darryl Strawberry on this list, Dale Murphy, and George Bell. Remember, George Bell was a terrific player with the Blue Jays. From 1984 to 1987, no one had a better slugging percentage than Don Mattingly at 560. That's including Mike Schmidt, who led the National League in home runs 8 times. Mike Schmidt, one of the great power hitters in the history of baseball. Don Mattingly, in his time, hit like Mike Schmidt and Tony Gwynn. And when I mention Tony Gwynn, why? Because you have to understand, Tony Gwynn, bat-to-ball skills, is one of the greatest who have ever played. Didn't hit for a lot of power, but bat-to-ball, Tony Gwynn was amazing. That's why he has all the batting titles and never struck out. Don Mattingly, 84 to 87, I told you, hit 337. Gwynn hit 341. But Gwynn only slugged 457 to where Mattingly led all of baseball 560. So essentially, you're looking at a player. I don't know, is there anybody we can compare that to in modern day baseball who is the best power hitter and is also the best average guy? He's both. He's literally there with Tony Gwynn in average when he's got the good bat and he's got the best slugging percentage. Who would we like? Bonds became that guy when he was Super Barry. Or Bonds won a batting title and he was the most feared power hitter, but that was on juice. Who is a guy right now playing who you could look at that's a power average? He's the entire package.
I don't know if we have a guy like that right now. I mean, Aaron Judge had a really good year average-wise, and he came close to winning the batting title, and he had the most home runs. If we're talking about a guy in the last 20 or so years, I think Pujols was that guy. Pujols always had a high batting average.
That's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
I mean, who do we have now? Because we talk about all these players today. Who do we have now? That's that guy. Who do we have that could actually have a 560 slugging percentage and have a 337 average?
Well, nobody hits that high in baseball anymore, average-wise.
That's not true. I remember who said that to us. Oh, it was what's his name? Who always has the guitar in the back? Petriello. Oh, yeah, that's about Mookie Betts when he won the MVP at 340. We act like no one can hit for a higher average. Mookie Betts did it when he was the MVP. Goldschmidt, Goldschmidt's put up some nice average years.
Yeah, he's
with power.
He's close. Arenado's not there yet. I mean, his batting average is usually pretty good, but it's not 330 good. Yordan Alvarez had a good year. I mean, he hit 306 and he had a 613 slugging and he had 37 home runs.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, but that was 1 year. I don't know if we have a guy that can do that on a third.
I mean, this Don Mattingly doing. I mean, Don Mattingly in the 80s is one of the best, and for a certain period of time, he was the best. He was the standard. He's got the hardware and the Gold Gloves and he's another one. When you look at his WAR, Don Mattingly won 9 Gold Gloves, but gets no credit for WAR because of his defense because he played first base. WAR craps on defensive first baseman.
I would love to throw Harper in there, but his average always fluctuates. Like 286 this year, 309 the year before, then 268, then 260, 249, 319. But the year he won the MVP at 330 and had a 1,109 OPS.
You know what? That is. I'm glad you brought him up. You have Harper's best year there.
His best year. What are we basing off of? His 2 MVP years were his best years.
Okay, we'll take whatever year is the best year.
We'll do his.
We're gonna go Donnie Baseball's best season MVP versus a guy. I like Bryce Harper. I'm a fan. If Bryce Harper was an Oakland A and was repping us, and he was out there playing hard every day and doing what he does, I know, because there's some people who do not like Bryce Harper.
That's a fact.
I like Bryce Harper. I'm a Bryce Harper fan. I love this whole thing with Philly. I understand he's a wonder boy. He's got that LeBron James thing where he's been on Sports Illustrated in high school and all that kind of stuff that people don't like. It's jealousy is what it's called. But I'm a Bryce Harper fan. All right. We'll go mark for mark here. Where do you want us to? You just tell me what.
I'll use his MVP where he was 22 years old.
Start wherever you want, whatever number. How many games did he play?
153.
Don Mattingly played in 159.
Okay, Harper had.
So, guy went to the post. Mattingly went to the post more than Bryce Harper.
Yes. 118 runs scored.
118 runs scored. Don Mattingly had 107.
He had 172 hits.
Don Mattingly had 211.
That's pretty good. 38 doubles.
38 doubles. That's cute. Don Mattingly had 48.
42 home runs.
Don Mattingly had 35.
He only had 99 RBI. Harper did. 330 batting average.
What did you just say?
330 batting average.
What did you just say in RBIs?
99.
I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. All these numbers we're talking about, you're talking about your MVP, his best year, he had 99 RBIs. 99.
Oh, if guys don't go on base, can't drive him in.
Really? Do we really believe no one was on base?
No, I don't know what that Nats team was like that
No
year.
one was on base, really. You want to know what Donnie Baseball had?
Probably like 130 or 140.
145. 145. In 159 games, Don Mattingly drove in 145 RBIs. That's how great he was.
Okay, but Mattingly probably had way less strikeouts and more. Harper had more walks, but he had way less strikeouts. Mattingly would have.
How many walks did he have?
124.
Yeah, Mattingly had 156. My guy hits.
He had 156 walks that year?
No, he had 56 walks.
Oh, 56. Okay.
Yeah.
330 average.
Mattingly 324. By the way, the year before, Mattingly's all-time is 343, where he won a batting title.
This was Harper's best year. He hit 330.
By the way, the year after Mattingly won the MVP, Mattingly hit and was second in the MVP the year after. Mattingly hit 352.
649 slugging percentage.
649 slug. Mattingly was 567.
So he had a 1,109 OPS.
What was his total bases?
338.
338. That's cute. Don Mattingly's was 370. You know what Don Mattingly's was the year after that? 388.
Harper's had over 300 twice. It was this year in both years he won the MVP.
I mean, you can't let me. The next year, Don Mattingly didn't win the MVP and had 388 total bases, OPS plus of 161, and didn't win the MVP.
Harper's the MVP was 198.
Like who was he playing against?
What year's that? 86.
It's 1986, where he hit 352, drove in 113. Look at what's the most RBIs Harper's ever had in a year?
It was his MVP year. He had actually that wasn't his best. He had 114 his first year in Philly.
He had that. How many years has he even driven in 100?
Twice. There back.
I mean, how put that? This is Mattingly. Look at this. 110, 145, 113, 115, 113. I mean, come
on. You said 86. The MVP was Roger Clemens.
So he lost to Roger Clemens, a pitcher, and you're looking at the number. Don Mattingly that year he lost the MVP to Roger Clemens, had 238 hits. That's Ichiro. He's Ichiro with power.
The next closest, and if you're looking at the MVP, Kirby Puckett had 223.
Look at this. He's Ichiro with power. He hit 352, 238, 31 home runs, and 113 RBIs. He's Ichiro. He's Tony Gwynn with power.
I was looking at.
Do you now see why when people say Don Mattingly should be a Hall of Famer?
I never thought he wasn't.
But his back went bad, and they were talking about it as people covered him, saying, the last few years, that's why they say that last stretch in 95, Don Mattingly basically told everybody, said, hey, screw it. I'm not going to protect the back anymore. I'm going all out. And he was a monster the last 2 months because he wasn't trying to protect his back anymore. He went all out. But look at this. Gold Gloves.
We have 9, I think.
Let's see. 9 Gold Gloves, MVP, Silver Slugger, All-Star, batting title. He did everything you can do in the game.
The only thing he didn't do, and it's not his fault.
Win a World Series?
I was going to say play in the postseason. He played in the postseason his last year.
He played in the postseason.
He played 1 year in the postseason, 1995.
And hit 417.
Yeah, in the incredible series against the Mariners when he was 34 years old, and he knew it was his last year.
I'm not a Yankee fan. Everybody knows that. I hate the Yankees. Don Mattingly should be in the Hall of Fame. Fred McGriff should be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't disagree about either of those guys. Del Murphy should be in the Hall of Fame too.
Bonds and Clemens are not getting in.
Most likely not. I'm going to say most likely. They aren't getting in. Is that bold enough for you? Is that a hot take?
No. Friday, we're going to have the big, bad, bold predictions. You get one for the winter meetings, and you're hanging that hat. You're hanging your hat on that one.
So we're talking about off season, not like signings, not the Hall of Fame, right?
Well, the Hall of Fame will be decided by the time we get there, so you could be right.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 days. You got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Our last show's on Wednesday. You got 3 days to get it right. Your prediction, to hang your hat, to be able to say, I won. I don't know what you've won yet, but you've won. Huh?
I'll think of something. I'll think of
Kurt Schilling will be a baseball Hall of Famer.
He might get the votes of the Hall. I'm curious to see how many of the Hall of Famers vote for him. I know the writers most likely won't.
Wait. Put up the list of the people who are voting. I mean, who's the Hall of Famer? Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux. How many Hall of Famers? There's not. I think
there's 7.
Are they all Hall of Famers?
Yes. Let me just see if I can find it. It was tweeted.
Because you got writers, you got executives.
It was sent out the other day. Let me see if they bring up who's actually on it. Of course, the Hall of Fame doesn't have it on their website.
No, you got to put the voters. You just put the ballot. They're going to give you. Yeah, they just had the whole list.
It was on Twitter, yeah.
Susan Slusser, our buddy Susan, is on the list.
Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux, Jack Morris, Ryan Sandberg, Lee Smith, Frank Thomas, Alan Trammell. Those are all Hall of Famers. Paul Beeson, Theo, Artie Moreno, Kim Ng, Dave St. Peter, Kenny Williams,
Stanford,
Steve Hirt. I think that's what it is. HIRDT. Lavelle Neal, who covers the Twins, and Susan Slusser on the 16-member committee. So you got the Hall of Famers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Hall of Famers.
I find it hard to believe that these 16 people who are voting on a man's career are going to sit here and say, this guy should not be a Hall of Famer because of politics. I have a really hard time like that. That's what these guys, this is what you have been tasked to do. You've been tasked to look at why did this player, who obviously you have to have some merits, is to have some merits to be on this list. You have Hall of Fame qualifications, right?
Yes.
So I have a hard time believing that these true baseball people, not writers, once again, you would be shocked at some of the people that have Hall of Fame votes. You'd be shocked. I have a hard time that you're going to actually look at Kurt Schilling's career and say he's not a Hall of Famer. If you do, are you now doing what the writers did? You don't like his politics, and you don't like what he said about you. And there's been threats. There's been violent threats from I haven't seen them myself, but they say he threatened writers, whatever. Not condoning it, whatever, but that's not, these guys are supposed to be looking at why the writers didn't vote for you. Did they get it wrong? Are these 16 people going to say, yep, I don't like his politics, I don't like what he's done on Twitter, that's why he's not a Baseball Hall of Famer?
I don't know. I mean, there will be. I have a feeling there will be people that will look at that, and it's going to be a big thing. That's why he wasn't voted on the writers' ballot when he was on the actual
But this
ballot.
is why they're supposed to look and to right wrongs, right? This is what their task is. Their task is not to look at this the way the writers do, right? That is this big, broad group that looks at it. You're supposed to be more educated. You're supposed to look at it more, and you're supposed to understand, okay, this player didn't get in. There's some reasons why. Are they valid? And if your valid reasoning of saying no for Curt Schilling is because of off-the-field stuff, I want to say I'll be shocked. As baseball people, as Greg Maddux, Chipper Jones, Jack Morris, Ryan Sandberg, Lee Smith, Frank Thomas, Alan Trammell, they know how hard it is to do what Curt Schilling did. They know the greatness that Curt Schilling was in the postseason. They know how special that is. Not a lot of people have done it.
No, what was he 11-2 at the area? It was incredible.
He was 11-2. Are they going to just bypass that all because of what he was doing on Twitter of politics?
I don't know about the players, but the morality clause is a thing, and I don't know how it affects this, but it does on the actual ballot, and I feel like that's going to be a thing. Like it's not a thing with the NFL, and there's been a lot of horrible people that have been voted.
Can you imagine that if we held the standard for the NFL, you just have to take all those jackets and those busts, and they'd be gone. Lawrence Taylor, probably the greatest football player of all time, would not be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't be in. The one that's interesting, will Theo vote for Curt Schilling? Curt Schilling helped him end the curse of the Bambino in Boston. Will he vote for Curt to be in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know how these ex-players would not vote for him. So 1, 2,
I'm trying to think of anyone
4,
were teammates
5,
with him.
6, 7, 8. So that's 8.
No, 7.
There's 7.
Yeah.
So Theo makes 8. How many do you need?
I think you need 12. You need 75% still.
All right. So if he's at 8, if you think the players vote for him and Theo votes for him, that's 8. That's what's interesting about Fred McGriff. You've got 3 people. You got Chipper, who played with him, Greg Maddux, who played with him. They all won a World Series together. And Paul Beeston was an executive when he was in Toronto. So those 3 people connected to Fred McGriff. I got to think those are 3 yeses right there. If you play the yes/no game.
I'm trying to think if I don't think any of the Hall of Famers played with Schilling. I mean, they played against him, obviously.
They played against him.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think I don't think anyone were teammates with him though. Like Chipper and Maddux obviously would have played against some Phillies and Braves, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, we could either see McGriff and maybe someone else going, or we can see nobody going. And then we have to wait for the writers' ballot later in January, and we can see someone not go. We can see nobody go in the Hall of Fame this year, which is just.
You know what? If that's the case, that's the case. I am not. One thing I forgot to ask Eno about, but he and Brian Kinney both they're big Hall guys. I am not. I am not a big Hall guy. I like what we're doing here. You went with the writers. Writers get it wrong because writers are biased. And there's a lot of people who have Hall of Fame votes that don't even cover our game full time. It's ridiculous. I am not big Hall. I want to make this the hardest Hall of Fame to get into. I want you to have to, I want it to be the greats of the greats. That's why I go Scott Rowland. No way. Scott Rowland to me, never a Hall of Famer. I never looked at Scott Rowland and went, whoo, Scott Rowland. Never.
Yeah, he might be the only guy that's even close to getting it on this ballot this year. It gets close.
I put Jeff Kent in because Jeff Kent was the best guy during his time. He's an MVP. He was an absolute monster. Kent was a monster. Did you want to face Jeff Kent?
He was a pretty good player.
Jeff Kent was a baller.
He won an MVP award as a second baseman.
Jeff Kent was a monster.
And the biggest knock is, well, he wasn't a second baseman.
When he plays his entire career at second base. It makes no sense. That's why the writers are lame. That makes no sense. Jeff Kent played the majority of his career at second base, and people say, oh, he wasn't a second baseman. Well, if he played second base, how was he not a second baseman?
Yeah, that doesn't.
Because you didn't like him playing there? It's nonsense. The guy has the most home runs ever. Did he have the most RBIs, too, as a second baseman? I think he's got both.
He might have both. I know he has home runs for sure.
He has the most home runs and RBIs as a second baseman, and he's not a second baseman? What the hell are we talking about?
Maybe on Friday, because MLB Now did it, but I put together a list, but I saw their question on Twitter, the most overlooked guy who should be in the Hall of Fame. We should talk about that. I sent you the list of guys I thought. Some of the guys have been on the ballot before, but.
Who was the number one guy you saw?
A lot of people were saying Kenny Lofton.
He was a good player.
There's a couple for me. I don't want to give them all away, but one of the big ones for me, when we talk about catchers, if we're talking about, I think Thurman Munson should be a Hall of Famer. I know his WAR isn't there, but the numbers he put up before everything what happened with the plane crash. I mean, the 11 years he played with the Yankees, he was an unbelievable catcher.
If WAR doesn't reward first baseman defensively like it does like a Scott Rowland at third base, Keith Hernandez is still a 60.3.
Yeah. The other one big for me is Tommy John.
How is Keith Hernandez, who was an MVP, just he was phenomenal offensively. Wasn't a home run hitter, but he was phenomenal. Guy's got a 60 WAR.
Yeah. Tommy John has a 61.6 WAR. He has it's either 187 or 188 no decisions. He has 287 wins, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. Oh, also he has the most famous surgery, and not just baseball, sports named after him for when he had it, and he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So those are the couple of the guys. Him, Thurman Munson, Keith Hernandez. I think Bernie Williams and Andrew Jones have a good case too, as well. But I would go with those guys.
Scott Rowland. How many home runs do you think he has in his career?
325.
316. 316. And the only reason he has that many is because he played 17 years. And those last few years, he was terrible. Literally terrible. Scott Rowland hit 30 home runs 3 times. By the way, are we sure he was never on the juice?
I don't think we know for sure.
He played right in the middle of the steroid era. 1,287 RBIs.
It's not that many for us.
17 years.
Who's another third baseman that's not in the Hall of Fame that should be in? Is there any we can think off the top of our head?
OPS plus of 122. I mean, what are these numbers that are supposedly screaming? Never won an MVP. Never even came close. The best thing he got was 4th. Never won an MVP.
I was looking at, this is a Bleacher Report article from forever ago, but it was like the top 10 eligible third baseman not in the Hall of Fame. Ken Boyer is number 1. Ron Santo, number 2. And
then Ron Santo. My grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Bob Elliott on the list.
Bobby Bonilla.
My grandfather, third most screwed third baseman not to get into the most valuable, into the Hall of Fame. My grandfather was an MVP. My grandfather was a monster in the postseason. Look it up, Bob Elliott. My grandfather was the first third baseman ever to win the MVP in baseball.
Yeah, so those are some of the guys. We can get into it more on Friday because we're about out of time.
All right. I can keep going.
Bold prediction.
What have they been saying in the chat room?
Not much.
Cody's completely wrong about Stanford.
Nothing about Stanford, no. Yes, Fred McGriff would have had 500 home runs if not for the strike, but Barry would not have hit 700 plus without the cream. You guys are too young to know what was going on in the 90s. You were just reading stats and making judgments. Stats do not tell the whole story. Then someone said Townie is not too young. I was young. In the 90s, I was not even.
Who said we were too young for the 90s?
One of our listeners.
What did they say?
You guys are too young to know what was going on in the 90s. You're just reading stats and making judgments. Stats do not tell the whole story.
Wow. He's right. I was too young for the 90s.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't 10 until 1998. So.
No, I lived in the 90s. Unfortunately. Are you kidding me?
Oh, someone said we both look fabulous.
I'm too young for the 90s? Man.
What do they think? I mean, You say you're a millennial, so they probably believe it.
You're right. I'm 32 years old. I was not around in the 90s. No, I was here in the 90s. I started my career in the 90s.
I would have been.
I'm coming up. Am I at 30? I'm coming up on 30 years, folks. 30 years. So, yes, I was around. I started my career at KMBR in the 90s, way back in the day. Oh, yeah. I was there for the steroid era. I was there working Candlestick Park, McGuire and Sosa show. I was there for the opening of Pac Bell Park. I was there for the closing of Candlestick. I was there when we honored, I wasn't working for the A's at the time. I was there when we honored Cal Ripken Jr. at the Coliseum. I was there for playoff games in the 90s. Well, we weren't any playoff games in the late 90s. There were no playoff games for the Coliseum. I was there for the playoff games for the Giants against the Marlins. Oh, yeah, I was around in the 90s.
So
San Jose State into my career. Oh, I saw it. I know all about the 90s.
Friday,
no, we're just not reading stats, bozos. And yes, I was around for the 80s too. I lived the Don Mattingly, George Brett, who was my favorite player of all time.
Friday, we're going to have Hembo to talk about the Hall of Fame. And then we're going to have Jay Jaffe.
I hope he sets you straight. There's no way no one's getting in. You know what? Why even have this committee then if no one gets in? Why even have it?
I'm with you. I think all these guys have Hall of Fame credit. I mean, that's why they're on the ballot.
Hey, I've heard this. If this is not crazy, I've heard people say, yeah, Palmeiro, PEDs or not, wasn't a Hall of Famer. And I go, wait a minute. Rafael Palmeiro had 3,000 hits. Anybody who has 3,000 hits is in the Hall of Fame. You're telling me?
There's one guy that doesn't, or that isn't.
Don't say A-Rod.
No.
Who?
P. Rose.
Oh, my God. You're so
There's two guys.
You're lame.
There's two guys.
No one who has three, and then we all know why that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Rafael Palmeiro with 500 home runs, which that was a standard at one point, and 3,000 hits wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame?
It's crazy.
You're going to put in Craig Biggio because he has 3,000 hits, but you're not going to have Palmeiro who has 3,000 hits?
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's whack. The whole thing is whack. The Hall of Fame, it's archaic and it's crazy. You have people who say Jeff Kent wasn't a second baseman, even though he played his entire career basically except second base, except it was in Toronto he played some third base.
I believe so, or maybe with the Dodgers.
The rest of the time he played second base. Has the most home runs as a second baseman, most RBIs as a second baseman, and there's people saying he's not a second baseman. It's crazy with the stuff that's said. Crazy.
Yeah, I think Palmeiro. I think what hurt Palmeiro is the whole never took steroids, period.
Okay, then he's a PED guy, all right? Which I would, you know what? If there was ever a year, like if they were smart, I know we got to go. If they were smart, knowing, as you said, Kent's probably not going to get in.
I guess
Roland probably doesn't get in. Wouldn't this be the year just to throw them all in?
Well, your whole steroid
just give me Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGuire, A-Rod. You let Big Papi in. If you don't think Big Papi was on PEDs, you're a moron. And you might call me a moron. Trust me. In the circles of circles, everybody knows the dirty secret, right? Everybody knows the dirty secret about Bagwell. Everybody knows the dirty secret about Piazza. Stop it. All right? Stop it. We know. We're putting in we're putting in the users that we like. It's ridiculous. So let's just put them all up there. Fine. If Hall of Famers don't want to show up this year, and this is the year they don't show up and they protest, they'll be back because they want those signing because they all get paid for their signature. They'll be back. Put them all in. But you're going to tell me these numbers, a 569 home runs, 1,835 RBIs, 3,020 hits, a career 885 OPS, 3 Gold Gloves. You're trying to tell me Rafael Palmeiro is not a Hall of Famer?
I've never denied that he wasn't. I think this line to Congress.
People have actually said if he wasn't PED, he's still not a Hall of Famer. What? What, 569 home runs and 3,000 hits? You're not going to be a Hall of Famer?
PEDs don't help
What are you, high?
PEDs don't help you hit the baseball. They help you hit the baseball far, not hit the baseball.
It's incredible. Total bases, 5,388. How are you going to say Rafael Palmeiro is not a Hall of Famer? Come on. It's ridiculous. And you know what? It's good for this to me, the conversation used to be good for the game, but I think it's getting to a point to where it turns people off. How ridiculous it is has really started to turn people off.
I agree with you on that.
Like it just gets to a point like you're like, what do you guys like? You guys are in it's like we're all, and we're in it. We're in our own little baseball bubble world, right? We're in this bubble world, and the whole sports audience is outside of the bubble world looking at us. We're in this bubble, and they go, you guys are ridiculous. You guys are, once again, I want small Hall. I mean, not putting Kurt Schilling in is ridiculous, right? Fred McGriff should be a Hall of Fame. They got this wrong. Fred McGriff should be a Hall of Famer. Now, if you want to say that debate that Don Manley didn't give you enough because of the bad back, okay, I can live with that. If you didn't get enough from Dale Murphy, I can live with that. But I can't. Pete Rose. How long we basically, and you know what? This is the thing. Have the balls, and I'll say it, have the balls to come out. We'll put Pete Rose in when he dies. That's his punishment. Pete Rose will never be a baseball Hall of Famer until after he dies. Our real punishment for Pete, what this real ban was with Bart Giamatti, and we're all holding on to it, is that Pete Rose will never be living and get to have the honor as a Hall of Famer while he's alive on this earth. That's our punishment. Have the balls to say it. But they don't. Because you know what? That sounds horrible. Do I need to bring up the definition of vindictive again?
No.
That sounds horrible. Because let me tell you something. Pete Rose is going to pass away, and at some point, Pete Rose will go into the Hall of Fame.
Most likely, I think so, yeah.
And there's all these, I remember, I'm not going to mention the name with broadcasters. You were completely wrong. He bet on baseball. It's again, he'll never be in. No. Oh, yeah, he will be. They will put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame after he's dead. But in society where we are in 2022, about to be 2023, baseball should come out and say, nope, he's not in until he dies. And can you imagine how bad the press would be? Can you imagine how vindictive and awful that sounds? We're going to give him the honor, but not while he's living. That's his punishment. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah,
right?
It seems that way anyway now.
And is that what we're doing with Bonds and Clemens too? Is that the new route? The new route is we're not going to put in Pete. We're not going to put in Bonds. We're not going to put in Roger. These guys are all-time greats. We're not putting them in until they pass away. That's their punishment.
I think one thing quickly.
Wow, how bad does that sound?
I think one thing quickly, or one thing too, is what happens with the next how many years? 9 years now, including this year, how A-Rod's vote goes. What if A-Rod gets voted in? Then you have to put those guys in. If you put A-Rod in, you have to put Bonds and Clemens in. You have to put Palmeiro in. Because if you're going to vote A-Rod in, which I know I forget how much he got on the ballot last year. It wasn't anywhere near 75. But he got some votes. It wasn't Big Papi, because remember Big Papi.
How long are you on this not contemporary? What's this list called? The Veterans Committee list?
It's the one they're doing right now. It's the 2023 contemporary era baseball Hall of Fame ballot. I don't know what the year is on that.
How long are you on that?
I don't know
It's called contemporary?
Yeah, it's the contemporary baseball ballot.
All right.
Era.
Well, is there a possibility those guys are off and A-Rod's still on the ballot? And then you could bring A-Rod on, he gets in, and those guys are off the ballot anyway, and they're gone forever.
Possibly.
Which I don't know.
But who knows? Because, Alan Trammell got voted in, and he was out of the game for how long?
Well, they started this committee thing.
Yeah, so
that's not apples to apples.
Well, I'm just thinking of guys like that. I don't know how long.
You don't go away and then come back. The only reason why Jack Morris and Alan Trammell got on it because they started this new way to look at whether guys should be Baseball Hall of Famers or not, who did not get voted in by the writers. That's a relatively new thing.
Let's see if it says it real quick. Doesn't look like it. It just says there's a contemporary era player ballot, which we have right now. It doesn't look like it.
I wouldn't be shocked if A-Rod, The Healing, on Fox, on ESPN, you got it?
No, just saying each appointee is served. They're supposed to meet on a cycle once every 3 years. So I guess every 3 years they meet. So 2025 they would meet again. Then 2028, if I'm doing this correctly, 2028, and then 2031. So that's when A-Rod will be off the ballot essentially, if he does, unless he just falls off this year, which I don't think he will.
I can see them thawing on A-Rod, and I can see them not thawing on Clemens and Bonds. And basically, Clemens and Bonds go to purgatory like Pete Rose. You don't go to heaven. You don't go to hell. We're going to send you to heaven after you pass.
A-Rod got 34% last year. I think that probably, it might actually tick up a little bit this year, maybe close to 40. Who knows? There's new riders in the game now. Someone like a younger rider who watched A-Rod. Maybe
I just think Bonds and Clemens are different. It was the defiance. It was the still to this day. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. They're not coming clean like McGuire. They're not doing it. They're not coming clean like A-Rod. A-Rod didn't come clean though. That's the thing. When A-Rod had to admit it because he was caught.
Yeah, true. Very different.
So McGuire came clean, got back into baseball, was able to be a hitting coach.
Bonds was hitting coach. The Marlins.
For a year.
Was that with Donnie Baseball? New Blue Jays bench coach?
Or was Donnie still with the Dodgers at the time?
Just pull it up real quick.
It's a good chance. Donnie Baseball was there for a long time.
2016, so...
He was there 8 years? How many years was he there?
Yeah, Bonds named hitting coach. This is from 2016. Barry Bonds named Marlins hitting coach. Yeah, the Marlins is under Don Mattingly, so his first year, Bonds was the hitting coach.
So, the fact that they've never groveled to us. Bonds, Pete Rose never did, and then once he did, it was too late. Now we grovel. I'm sorry, I lied. Because Clemens and Bonds have never gotten to their knees and bowed in front of us and asked for forgiveness. Are they put in the same thing as Pete Rose? I'll call it purgatory. I mean, Pete Rose, it's unbelievable. And there's still people who stick by. I just wish they'd be, if you're going to do this to a man, just say it. Come out and have the guts to say exactly what you're doing. Instead of saying, Pete Rose, every so often, Pete Rose writes a letter to the commissioner. Pete Rose, and the commissioner has to talk about it. Just say, you know what? We've all made a decision. We'll readdress this when he passes. It's so morbid.
It is.
It's so morbid and vindictive. It's like Pete Rose went out was killing people's families. We're going to punish this guy. The punishment is so unreal. It's like you got the death penalty while you're alive. And you have to live the death penalty every day. Every day. And we're never going to thaw on this. We're never going to thaw. We're never. It's unreal. And I wonder now, like if we had some of the broadcasters that I had on who I got into it with, if I had them back on today and explain this. So you're cool with basically saying, now it's one thing to say he never gets in ever. But I think we now all kind of go, the hit king probably should be in. But maybe he never gets in. Bonds and Clemens never get a plaque.
It's just silly. It's a museum telling the history of the game.
All right, we will be back on Friday at 1 o'clock. Who do we have on?
Hembo and Jay Jaffe of Fangraph. So Hall of Fame talk.
Paul Hembekides from ESPN. Well, Jaffe's got his jaws. I wonder what Jaffe thinks about, because he's a Hall of Fame guy. I wonder what he thinks about the old guys, the vote on because let me tell you something. If nothing happens, that's bad for us. We want to show up to San Diego, first show, 1:00, and it's rip-roaring Hall of Fame talk. Because if you're telling me Judge is not going to sign, none of the shortstops sign, and we're talking old man Verlander and old man DeGrom, which DeGrom isn't that old, but at 35. But if that's what we're talking about, 2-3-year deals,
I don't think that even happens.
I'm saying, let me tell you, if Bonds and Clemens get in on the vote, the winter meetings may be the most explosive winter meetings in the history of baseball. We'll talk more about this on Friday. We'll see everybody on Friday, 1:00. Thank you for listening and watching A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends